like this and want more, then check out the JARcast live stream every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time on the Jacob Anders Review YouTube channel, where you can also find movie reviews every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. You can also listen to the entire podcast on all major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Google, and iTunes. So if you prefer audio, whichever one is your preferred, check it out there. Once again, I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching. And as always, stay sexy, YouTube. Welcome, everybody, to episode 11 of the JARcast Movie Podcast. This week on the show, we're looking at a new titan at the box office, and an old monster might be creeping back. A Brzkr wins and John Wick loses. Scarlett speaks, Geralt returns, and more right here on the JARcast. So without any further ado, I present to you Antonio Sanders from the Antonio Sanders Movie Reviews YouTube channel. What is up, Antonio? How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well. Fresh off a long day, working in the ER here. It was very stressful. I'm surprised I'm in such good spirits, probably because I've never been on a live before. And, it's really kept me in a very good mood the entire day. Awesome. Even in stressful situations, just knowing that I was going to come home and be able to talk to everyone and, not troll the chat like I do every video. I'll be in that regard tomorrow. I'll be in trolling form for the game live. So
that's all
be
good,
ready
man.
For that.
We love you trolling the chat. It wouldn't be the chat without you there. And thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. This is your first time being on camera, I think, online at least, and this is your first live stream. It's my first guest on my podcast, so I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us for tonight. Looking forward to getting your opinion on some of these interesting news stories I got, and it'll be nice to have somebody else to actually be able to talk to and bounce some idea or to bounce this stuff off of.
Likewise, my friend. It's definitely been a very, very lonely quarantine, I guess would be the right way to put it. I feel like I'm still in quarantine, technically. I just have lost all of my friends in the last year somehow in this stay-at-home madness.
I think that's everybody.
I had to go out. You have to be seen, to really maintain your reputation. Otherwise, you just become a recluse, staying home, watching YouTube, scrolling nonstop.
Oh, for sure. I don't know if I ever get lonely, though. I got too many kids, so my house is always a madhouse. But yeah, I hear everybody else is just kind of sitting at home. Those four walls are getting smaller and smaller on them. But hopefully tonight we can at least virtually open up those walls for you here on the show and talk about some good stuff. But we're going to talk more about you here in just a little bit. I'm going to jump into our first story. We got a few interesting stories to talk about tonight. Want to get your opinion on them, and the first one, we'll just jump right in. The first one that we're going to talk about is Godzilla vs. Kong is stomping the shit out of the competition. According to the news, Warner Brothers' legendary Godzilla vs. Kong is crushing the China box office with a $70.5 million opening weekend, March 26th through 28th, according to figures from theatrical consultancy Artisan Gateway, because it's not actually out here. It actually comes out tonight at midnight, I think, here in the States. The China box office contributed to an international total of $122 million from 38 markets, representing the biggest opening for a Hollywood movie globally in the pandemic era. The film opens in North America in cinemas and on HBO Max on March 31st and will open in Japan, the home of Godzilla, in May. That's odd. The MonsterVerse mashup took $20.9 million on its opening day in China, Friday, March 26th, according to Mayon figures, slightly ahead of the previous film in the franchise, Godzilla King of the Monsters. That's interesting, which grossed $20.7 million on its opening day in May 2019. No other release this year or this week has come close to Godzilla vs. Kong in China last weekend. I find this really interesting because I think it's crazy. That is like by far the most money any fucking movie has made this year, like anywhere, not just in China, but anywhere. I mean, I know everybody doesn't like follow the how much money the movies are making and stuff. I watch that stuff. I find it interesting and weird like that. But nothing, even Tenet, that was the one that everybody said was going to save the movie theaters. It didn't come anywhere near this. That's $122 million, and it hasn't even opened here in its home. Well, not Godzilla's, but this movie's home country, the U.S. That's insane, man. What about Antonio? Do you think you'll? I mean, where you stand on Godzilla versus Kong or the whole monster verse? Do you think you're going to be going to see this? You're going to watch it at home, or could you not give a damn?
Personally, Godzilla actually brings me a lot of nostalgia. You know, like I can take it back to when my dad is personally a big fan of both King Kong and Godzilla. The thing of it is that I grew up watching Godzilla and Godzuki, the cartoon. Remember that from Cartoon Network?
Yeah.
It was a cartoon version of Godzilla that used to play in like the early '90s, and that's sort of, I think it was to attract newer audiences. You know, because before that it was like those robotic Godzilla, like, oh, the people are attacking the city, and they would be in like Japan, and it's black and white, and they had realized as time went on that wasn't really going to appeal, you know, like you did with, like, okay, take the whole what is it, the Bears, how they made the Bears into the scary movie now, like sort of like the Freddy's thing.
Oh yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, they have those that animatronic scary movie that was like about the band.
Willy's Wonderland. Oh no, you're talking about was Willy's Wonderland, but there's also the Banana Splits. That was an actual show back in the day.
Banana Splits. Okay, so they took something that was actually a child happy, you know, show. It wasn't a cartoon. It was just that live thing, right? Like, movie live. And they actually totally transformed the genre into a scary movie. I feel like what they did with that was that they not only brought newer audiences to the actual you know, the entire Banana Splits idea, but they, you know, scared the crap out of a lot of kids and probably forced them to you know what I mean, like, because parents didn't know what to expect when they saw that. Really, I mean, think about if you just remembered it from when, you know, it was a nice show back in whenever, and you saw it like, oh, the Banana Splits, let me show my, you know, my kids something that I saw when I was a kid, and you go in there and you see what it's like, and it's like, oh, okay,
this is not what I remember.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they were trying to retain the same audience by making that into a scary movie, but I hope they don't go further with that. Like, I could see Barney becoming horror.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome, dude.
Teletubby.
The Teletubby, yes.
The sun in the sky with the baby face. I mean, how cringe was that?
Oh yeah, that's you know, Teletubbies was before my time, so I didn't or not before, it was after my time, so I didn't really and it was after my time and a little bit, I guess, before my kids' time, so that was perfect. I didn't really have to deal with the Teletubbies, but I'm very well aware of them, and those things are probably more terrifying than any of those movies, including Godzilla or Kong. So I'm with you there. I mean, this thing though, coming out, I mean, this is like, I don't have the numbers in front of me, like as far as like China, because China's the second biggest. I think America's the first, and China's the second biggest market in the world as far as movies go. It hadn't always been that way, but in the past like 10 years, they've become the second biggest market because a whole bunch of motherfuckers live over there. But but even because I mean, depending on who you are, most people will at least agree how it started or whatever. That's where the pandemic began, was over there. So the fact that that's like ground zero, and that's China, and in the middle of this pandemic, $122 million. That's in a less than a week. That's insane. That is crazy amount. That it clearly shows that people are ready to get the fuck out of the house. They are ready to get out and get to see some movies. I was surprised by this mostly because you keep seeing all these movies that are moving out of the way, and they're like, oh, we're moving Fast 9 out of a month. We're moving Black Widow. I talked about last week. All these movies keep shifting because everybody's afraid to take that jump. They're afraid to put their, $100, $200 million movie out there and it doesn't perform. But I think this just goes to show, man, you put something that you put a product out there that people want, which clearly they want this, people are going to go see it. It'll make money. So I think it's kind of the way I look at this is not just that this is, a product that people want, but speaking to the other stuff, stop making trash that people don't want. Stop making a bunch of shit that nobody wants to see. Make stuff that people want to see, regardless if you are into Godzilla or Kong. Clearly there's an audience for it. People want to see it. Put out good stuff that people want to see, and they'll go see it. That being said, I haven't seen the movie, so I have no idea. I was going to watch it tonight or tomorrow afternoon, so it might be total trash. I don't know. But you know what? It's trash that people wanted to see, and I'm happy to see that it is doing well. I hope it's good, because I'm going to waste 2 hours of my life watching it if it's not.
I definitely think it's worth a watch. I may order it myself, actually. As far as, just studios being afraid to put their movies out there, I can understand that. I mean, you just have to look at the different revenue streams that exist, and, it's just about, like, what you can make in the box office. I don't know if they didn't just look at just regular ticket sales pre-COVID, did they? There were other ways of, like, taking in income. Wasn't box office like everything combined as far as sales from the theaters?
The box office is legit only movie ticket sales. That is only movie ticket sales.
Okay. And in that regard, then what I was going to say is that you just have to take a look at the revenue that they have brought in, look at old data versus what they used to bring in from the movie theaters, because not everybody is going to have time to sit up and watch a movie at home. Like when I went to the movies, that was one thing I knew I was going to come out of there with, was an actual sense of having seen the movie, like itself.
Can't
when
pause
I'm at
it.
home, when I'm at home, I have to watch something like 2 and 3 different times and rewind parts, just different things. And I really, especially if I haven't seen it, like watching something the first time at home, like it's like you have ADD at home. Like, people are calling your name, the dogs are bothering you, and there's just like, okay, I didn't really get the gist of what that was about.
For sure.
And then also, I'm looking at Wikipedia, honestly, before I even watch a movie at home. In the theater, I would see a preview of something I liked, and it would just be, you would be totally surprised, and you would have like this great conversation walking out of the theater. That would be like, that's something I really miss about going to the movies, would be that initial like effect after I remember I saw The Strangers in 2008, and my date, she actually wanted to walk out of the theater, but I was like so entranced within the movie that I hadn't seen anything that scary in years. And then, to be honest, I don't compare anything really to that till Sinister was probably the last scary movie that I feel like was actually scary for real. The first one.
Yeah, Sinister was good.
Yeah, and I just, I'm sure that there's been other great movies. I have seen great movies being at home, but the theater just really provided something for me. Like, it was like I had tunnel vision with a movie I really wanted to see in the theaters. And I've seen things in IMAX, I've paid extra. I've gone to drive-ins, that's something that I would really like. I live next door to the drive-in, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, I can't see how COVID would have, sorry to even mention that. I can't see how that would have stopped that from, taking place. So I'd like to do that this spring, at least go back to the drive-in, if not a theater.
Oh, for sure. I love driving. There's only one drive-in, and it's a ways away from here, but, and it's a bit of a haul to get there, and it's not the greatest drive-in, but beyond that, there's no, like, drive-in around where I live, so... Yeah, but that'd be. You would have thought that drive-ins would have thrived during all this, but whatever. But, with this, though, I just think that this really does go far to show. I am happy that the movie's doing well. I'm interested to see what it's going to do over here. I don't think it's going to bring in as much here, because when it comes to here, it's on HBO Max as well. So, HBO Max, a lot of people are going to choose to watch this movie at home. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going to theater to see it. I'm going to watch it here tomorrow evening or this evening. So, I do wonder how they're going to, I guess the value proposition for them is they're bringing this big movie to their streaming platform, because you don't have to pay. It's not like Disney Plus. You don't have to pay anything extra. It's just on there. So, I guess they're hoping that it will bring in subscribers, and that's how they're going to, I don't know how they're going to gauge how successful the movie is, though. Because, the way we've always done it is this right here, $122 million, which, if this was a year and a half ago and Godzilla vs. Kong came out and it made $122 million, we'd be like, it's all right. That's okay. We would expect for like $400 million opening weekend, or maybe not that much, but a whole lot more money than that. But 122 is extremely respectable right now. I mean, like nothing else is coming anywhere close to it since we went into this lockdown. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm interested. I just hope it's not like the last one I watched, the King of the Monsters. It looked so cool in the trailer, and then when I finally watched it, I was kind of disappointed. I didn't hate it, but I was disappointed by it. I'm hoping this one, is better than that, and I hope it comes over here and does some gangbusters too, and maybe that'll be what gets people out there to say, oh yeah, okay, this is, we can go out and do things. Let's go out and let's go to theaters and stuff like that, because I don't want theaters to go away. I like watching movies at home, admittedly, but I'd hate if the option for me to go to theaters wasn't there anymore, because there is
the idea of it.
Yeah, like you said, it's an experience. Do I want to see? I do like, especially watching as many movies as I do, having the option to watch them at home. But sometimes, I mean, that's an experience. No matter how big of a TV you got and surround, it's not the same. That experience of going to the theaters, getting your drink and your big ass nasty buttery popcorn and Twizzlers or whatever, and sitting in this theater.
Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, it's just not the same. So I am hoping, and this does give me hope that theaters aren't going to go away anytime soon. But from that, we have one more monster that we're going to talk about this evening. This is one that I bet you probably know a bit more about this particular monster property than I do, if I had to guess. Could be wrong, but we're going to find out. I'm talking about, actually, this story involves one of my favorite directors ever. I love this guy. He does great work, but he's talking about this particular popular property that I'm interested in hearing more about, and I'm talking about The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and that director will be Robert Rodriguez. Apparently, it's not just him, it's another guy, this Greg Nicotero. The Walking Dead director Greg Nicotero thinks that he and Robert Rodriguez could make a pretty great remake of The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Speaking to comicbook.com, Nicotero, I'm going to trip over that name every time, talked about remakes and reimaginings because he's currently one of the folks behind Creepshow, the remake that airs on Shudder. And with his experience and absolute love of the original, the filmmaker believes that he and Robert Rodriguez could team up for a great creature film. I mean, I love Robert Rodriguez, so anything he makes I'm going to watch. According to Nicotero, he says, and I do like some of the stuff he says here. Let me go through this real quick. I think for any creature monster kid, Creature from the Black Lagoon is the quintessential monster movie, Nicotero said. I think Robert Rodriguez and I always talk about like, hey man, maybe we should co-direct a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, because he and I have identical taste. We love Jaws, we love The Thing, we love Escape from New York, and Blade Runner. We toy with the idea, like, this is written really weird. We toy with the idea of, like, wouldn't it be cool if we remade Creature from the Black Lagoon? And I know they've been trying to do it forever, but for me, that's the quintessential, I think I said quintessential Universal monster movie. All of these remakes and retellings and stuff, and the one thing that they need to have is they need to have respect and passion for the genre. I couldn't agree more with that. It's not just taking a title and putting your own spin on it, because if anybody can put whatever spin on that they want, because everyone's going to have a different approach. But you have to have respect for the original material, he added. I feel like that, for me, is one of the things that really drives me, because I have respect for the storytelling that was done on the original Creepshow and everything that George did, talking about George A. Romero, everything that Stephen King has done. So to have the ability to approach a project like that with respect, I feel, is the key ingredient in the success of rebooting anything. I don't know how you feel about it, and I don't know how much The Creature from the Black Lagoon means to you. Me, myself, I don't have like I'm aware of The Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's not like I have like this huge fondness of it. I think that it is something, that's one of the creatures besides, what was it, Monster Squad in the 80s, that we haven't seen since the originals. I think Robert Rodriguez could probably put a really neat spin on it. This guy is talking a really good game. He's saying all the right things. I do think that when it comes to remaking something, rebooting, anything like that, you do have to have that respect and love and care for it. You don't need to be there just for a paycheck. If not, you're going to fuck it up. So I like everything he's saying, but I mean, saying and doing are two different things. Now, as it stands right now, this movie is not in production or anything, but they are in talks. They're talking to news outlets about it and stuff like that. So this seems like something Robert Rodriguez would do. It seems like kind of just like that out there movie, and I'm sure he's working on something right now, but there's nothing like huge that he's working on that we know of right now. So what do you think about seeing Robert Rodriguez or not, just a Creature from the Black Lagoon remake? And how's the Creature from the Black Lagoon relate to you?
To be completely honest with you, Jacob, I really can't speak to the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I would be interested in seeing the movie. I am familiar with the title. I would put that definitely in the category of just, great horror movies like, Don't Look Now and Suspiria and things of that nature. But as far as Robert Rodriguez, I do like him. He was behind Grindhouse and Machete, and
Sin City.
he worked with Quentin Tarantino a lot. So I really did like those movies. So in that regard, and then we know Nicotero from Day of the Dead, right? So
I think he's in Day of the Dead. I know he works on The Walking Dead too, but he may have been on part of Day of the Dead as well.
The way I think about it, those two in a mashup could be like, in regards to any movie monster, would be a good collaboration. But I do agree with what that person said about the respect in terms of the remakes, because that's one thing that I feel like a lot of these newer directors are lacking. Like, it's okay to put your own spin on something, but it's like, you can't, you just can't take something and change it up to your own liking, and to me, trademark infringement. I mean, it's like, you can't pour Pepsi in a Coke bottle and then serve it as Coke. Like, that's not, even if Pepsi may be okay with that, because personally I don't like Pepsi, they have a product that they stand by. I mean, that's why Stephen King doesn't get involved in a lot of stuff that people remake. I mean, for one thing, a book is always subjective. I mean, people don't know how to interpret. I mean, everybody interprets a book differently. So I know he always stands, and every time he hears about one of his remakes, he probably just sits back like, okay, let me see what they do. I'm not going to involve myself in any regard to your movie, because that would lend a bias towards me liking you as a director more so than the other dozen people that have done remakes of my movies. And it's like, why should I get with you? And then the few people that he has gotten involved with, it's usually not on his big movies. Like he's been there for like his smaller movies that not many people have seen. Like, he's been involved with
a lot of the TV movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to mention, like Storm of the Century and, things, Rose Red, things like that people really haven't seen. But there are people that have read those books and haven't seen the movies. And sure, that's the same thing. Like, when you think a book is better than a movie, it's usually because you appreciate the original content. So,
sure.
There are just a lot of things that I don't honestly want to see remade at all. And like Candyman, for instance. I'm glad they put Tony Todd in it, but if they hadn't, then I probably wouldn't even have seen it. I was like, okay, personally, Transformers, when they remade that, I was really upset. I am a big fan of G1 Transformers, the cartoon from 1987 and 1993.
Yeah.
And the 1986 movie was very near and dear to my heart, the cartoon movie. And then when they just, they remade it, and then they used Bumblebee, and, it just really made me mad.
He became
Bumblebee
a Camaro.
was a very minuscule character in the sense of the thing. He was like a pet to the Transformers. Like, they should have had so many more people that would have made that into a $122 million, in its first couple of days.
Sure.
I'm sure it did shatter the records that it, did.
Oh, yeah, it did well.
Just because of that, everybody has such high expectations, I like the movie itself, but I'm saying that there are always going to be those hardcore fans, especially when you make a remake of something that you have to, like, take The Shining, okay, and then take Doctor Sleep. Doctor Sleep was a great movie, but, that brought out the fans of The Shining.
Sure.
And it's like Doctor Sleep had such a great movie with those powers being stolen and everything. Like, they didn't really have anything to do with The Shining, so they should have just maybe they shouldn't have correlated them.
That movie was a catch-22 for them. There's no way they could have followed up The Shining and people weren't going to give them shit. I mean, it wasn't a remake, but it was almost like it was a remake because it had been so long and it was dealing with that same world. So I see what you're saying. Like that was they
You
were
have to avoid stepping into great, it's like the quote is avoid stepping in a great man's shoes because you end up, you know what I mean? Don't like if you're the president's son, okay? Everybody's going to be looking at you like, oh, are you going to become the president tomorrow? That may not even be your aspiration,
yeah
but because, like these remakes, like especially if something's just pivotal, the upper echelon of that genre, and then people decide that, oh, I'm gonna just see if I can repackage this, and even they don't even have. I mean, how could you possibly think that you're gonna even reach the, what I mean? That movie may have been one of the ones that inspired you to, like me. That's why I haven't done Basic Instinct or Fatal Attraction. Those movies are like what led me to do this genre. Basically, it's
sure.
like if I were to just make some, goofy, effortless video on basic instinct, that would be me like turning in my thesis paper, and at the end of my like my thesis, I'm just not going to care about that. I've had like a 3.5 all the way up to I'm finally about to turn in my thesis, and I just decided to make that video 4 minutes long. Here you go, guys. It would just be like, I want to save that to where I can actually respect it and do well with it, So
Sure.
that's how I feel about remakes and things.
I think the remake in Hollywood now, it's almost like it's becoming a bad word. It is. It kind of has. I think typically there is a negative connotation attached to the word remake or even reboot because they just remake everything. It's like you hear a lot of people say there's no original ideas in Hollywood anymore. That's why. I think there are original ideas, but I think there's a whole lot of people looking back wanting to remake things. My question is, it sounds like this guy wants to remake it for the right reason. Because I do think that, like, I always wanted to see, and they've done it now, but before they had done it, I always wanted to see a remake. I don't want to see a remake of a lot of stuff. I wanted to see a remake of Planet of the Apes before we got the Tim Burton and so on. I wanted to see that because this is one of my favorite movies. And I was like, this movie could actually benefit from being remade in modern day. It didn't. Right. If you've seen the Tim Burton one, it did not. It wasn't until years later that we got the good ones. But either way, I wanted that. But I wanted it because I thought, hey, there's a reason, not just to make money, this movie could benefit from it. And I think a lot of remakes, like all these Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes and even the Transformers, I could see that because I don't know, like a live action one, if they could have done that back then. Now, where they went with it, that's a different story, but I get that. But some movies, I feel like more movies are remade for the wrong reason than anything, and that's why, not for a passion and a love for the property, but for the wrong damn reasons, and that's why a lot of these remakes end up failing, or not even financially. A lot of these remakes make a lot of money. I mean, they make a lot of money.
That's what I was just getting on. It's just clickbait. Like thinking since of us being YouTubers, it's just a clickbait title. And then it's packaged up in a winning name already, okay?
Exactly.
People are going to be on already just by hearing one of their favorite movies are being remade. And
sure.
They may not even have any expectations for it. Just the fact that the premise is the same, that may be enough just to draw them out to it. Just that someone even likes the movie that they like. A lot of movies I don't think anyone else has even seen, and then I'll put it on, sneakily, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's my favorite movie too," and it's like, so.
I mean, I don't know, man. I like what this guy's saying, and I think Robert Rodriguez makes it. I'll be behind it. I mean, I even watched that the movie on Netflix not long ago, We Can Be Heroes. It's pretty much Shark Girl and Lava Boy 2. If I watch that of his, I'll watch anything. So I'm down with him. I think that the guy, he's a really creative director, and I don't feel like Robert Rodriguez makes a movie. If they come out and say, yes, the Nicotero and Robert Rodriguez are making Creature from the Black Lagoon, I'll feel pretty comfortable with it because I don't feel like Robert Rodriguez ever gets involved with a movie that he's not passionate about. And not saying he doesn't always make a hit, but I think that you can tell he's passionate about the movies he makes. So while I don't have like a particular nostalgia or fondness of the Creature from the Black Lagoon, it's been so long since the damn thing's been around. If it's done right and it's done with the right love and care and they preserve the spirit of the original, then I'd be down with seeing a Creature from the Black Lagoon remake. I mean, it worked for like Invisible Man. They came out with that one and I was like, oh, that's going to be terrible. That was actually pretty good, and There's something else here recently. I can't remember. They've remade a couple of these things, and I feel like they've gotten the right people with the right mindsets to make them, and they've actually turned out well. But you never know. It's like a crapshoot, man, with these remakes, because there's so many of them that are remade, rebooted, retooled, and you're just like, why are you doing this? Well, the answer is money. I don't know if the Creature from the Black Lagoon, well, yeah, it's name recognition. I think everybody's heard the name, but I don't think it's one of those names that most people are going to hear and they're going to be like, fuck yeah, I got to go see that right now. I think people are just going to be like, oh, yeah, that's a fish guy, I think. Yeah. Monster Squad? Yeah. I mean, it's not... Name recognition will help, but I don't think it's going to sell it. Now, Creepshow that Nicotero's in, I have not seen the Creepshow show that's on Shudder. I've seen the movies from back in the day. I love those. But I hear the Creepshow show is really good, and he's claiming that that's why he got involved with Creepshow, and that's why it's been well, because he had a care and a love for that property, and he went into it that way. And that's how he's wanting to go into this. So if that be the case, I mean, these might be the right guys for it. And I wish them all the luck, and I hope so. I'll be keeping my... ear to the ground to see if maybe in the next year or two we're going to get a Creature from the Black Lagoon reboot. Who knows? We'll see.
If they do that, they might as well do Swamp Thing. I mean, come on. I'm all about that.
Well, they did.
The Toxic
Oh,
Avenger.
shit, yeah. Now, if Toxic Avenger is remade, it would have to be remade by Trauma, though. Because you can't make like a big budget Toxic Avenger that loses it'll lose its appeal. That's one of the great things about the Toxic Avengers. It's so low budget, it's so janky that's what makes it work. But no, I am interested to see where they go with this, and I hope if it happens, I hope these guys are the ones involved, and if they are, then I'll be interested to see what they got. So, coming off of all that monster goodness, we're going to jump into some comic book goodness from there. That is all the rage nowadays. And this is actually the last story. We have no idea if it's coming. This one we know is coming. And actually, there was some breaking news about it today as well. And I'm talking about Black Adam. The Black Adam movie coming out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We got a little bit of information about that one. And it's in the shape of its villain, or not the villain. I'm not sure if he's a villain or not, but he's a character. Pierce Brosnan, the former James Bond actor, will play the part of Dr. Fate via The Hollywood Reporter, a character known to be an analog to Marvel's Doctor Strange. And to be fair, DC's version came first, but he's lesser known at this point, which is actually the case you find with a lot of characters in the Marvel DC thing. DC, I found, has actually released their doppelganger character before Marvel. Marvel, in a lot of cases, took the bait with DC. But anyway, Fate will be a member of the Justice Society of America, which already includes Aldous Hodge as Hawkman, Noah Centineo as Atom Smasher, and Quintessa Swindell as Cyclone. In the comics, Fate is Kent Nelson, the son of an archaeologist who was taught sorcery skills and given the magical Helmet of Fate. Black Adam will be directed by I'm going to butcher this name, Jume Collet Sarah. Yeah, that person. Stars Dwayne Johnson as the titular anti-hero, and also co-stars Sarah Shai and Marwan Kenzari. The film was originally set for December 21st, December 2021, but Dwayne Johnson, who was starring as the titular character, shared on his Instagram Sunday that the DC superhero film will release on July 29th, 2022, so it's been pushed back a little bit too. It says that the synopsis of the film is a disruptive and unstoppable force. Oh, this isn't a synopsis. This is his tweet or Instagram message, whatever. A disruptive and unstoppable force of a message from the man in black himself. Johnson captioned the post that showed Times Square featuring a Black Adam visual teaser. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change, he said. The short spot with the release date was also aired during Sunday NCAA game. Production on the film is slated to begin in April in Atlanta. Oh, that's not far from here. I don't know a lot about Black Adam or this Dr. Fate beyond they were characters in the Injustice game that I played. I'm aware of them. I know Black Adam has ties to Shazam, and I didn't really know much about Shazam, except Shazam was originally named Captain Marvel before Marvel's Captain Marvel. That shit gets really confusing if you go back and look at it. But I didn't know really much about that character either until the movie in 2019 came out. But apparently these two, that and Shazam, are connected somehow. And this Dr. Fate character, I don't really know anything about these characters, and that kind of makes it even more exciting for me, honestly. I'm more excited to see this Black Adam movie with all these characters and stuff that I know fuck all nothing about than like the next Spider-Man, because I've seen everything there is to see about Spider-Man or Batman or all that. This is a fresh, to me at least, to moviegoers, fresh character, and I'm kind of excited to see this. He is an anti-hero, I think, so I don't know exactly what his powers are. I think he has similar powers to Shazam, but I'm interested in seeing this. And Pierce Brosnan, anytime he's going to show up in something, that's a suave-ass motherfucker. He wasn't necessarily my favorite Bond, but man, he just really suave-ass motherfucker. He wasn't necessarily my favorite Bond, but man, he just really had maybe not so much the action part, but just the James Bond suaveness. He had it in spades. So I'm looking forward to seeing him as this character. And I'm just kind of looking forward to this movie, and what we're sitting at, I think it said July 29th, 2022, so just over a year away, and we'll be seeing us. And anytime The Rock is in something, yes, he's cheesy, and he's kind of goofy, and some of his movies are kind of like dumb fun, but man, the key word there is fun. That guy is one of the most charismatic human beings I have ever seen in my life. So I'm looking forward to this. How about you, Antonio?
Totally. I definitely agree with what you said about Dwayne Johnson. He's ever since he was a wrestler, like he always sort of was able. I don't remember anything about like his wrestling moves per se, but I do remember his basically marketing. Like, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Like jabroni and all of those things are what sticks with me now. And now really, I mean, a lot of kids probably don't even remember, that he was a wrestler to begin with. They're just like, oh, okay, that's that guy from the 6 Fast and the Furious movies that I've watched. You know what I mean? From 1999 all the way until whenever. That's how they know him. They don't know that he was on SmackDown. And what was this move that he used to do?
Oh,
actually?
Man, I didn't follow wrestling, so I don't
Neither
know.
did I. Neither did I. Everybody that I knew talked about it so much that I feel like I sort of was like a second-hand fan of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just like Family Guy.
Yeah.
Like, I really have never really watched Family Guy.
Really?
You know?
Family Guy's great.
But, I've watched it, but I feel like I've heard so many people quote it, and there's so many people that I know that are giant fans of Stewie and everything else that I kind of like. If I just saw the characters, I would know who they were, even if I couldn't even tell you their names, you know?
Oh, yeah. Family Guy's hilarious.
I'm definitely excited that there's been a new introduction to the, you know what I mean, the universe itself, because, they're just on a train that's just gaining more and more momentum, to be honest with you.
Well,
I was just going to say there's definitely voids to be filled. With the loss of Chadwick Boseman, you know what I mean? Just who would have even thought that would have happened? And now, who knows about the future of the Black Panther? You know, that was such a lightning rod when it came, and then it was like, it ended on such a sour note with his death, you know what I mean, to me personally, that it almost sort of, it didn't really take the light away from it, but just like the movie itself had given everybody, a spark because it was new and everything, I feel like, and then like the attention it garnered when it came out, at least for me, I really liked that one. And
it was really good. That one, like you said, it just took on this, it was a character, and I know that there's huge comic book fans are like, it's Black Panther, how do you not know? Well, most people don't.
And I didn't know.
Yeah, most people
Wesley
don't
Snipes
know.
had already tried to bring, where's Hell Knight at, all right? We got people that like Blade, right? Wesley Snipes really got mad when he wasn't chosen to be the Black Panther, because he had pitched that idea to Sony, whoever he was with at the time. I don't even think that any of the Marvel stuff had come out yet. I think X-Men, that first X-Men, was just in the production.
He actually was trying to.
They shelved it.
Yeah, he was wanting to do that before Blade, because he went with Blade.
So it was the first Blade.
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that he originally pitched Black Panther, and then for whatever reason that didn't materialize, so he went with Blade instead. But I'm with you on the Black Panther thing. What I liked about Black Panther was that it was new. It was fresh. It was a character I didn't like. I said about this, it was something new. It wasn't Spider-Man again. It wasn't Superman again. Batman. It wasn't these characters that are just bankable that they know they can make this movie and they're going to make money. It was something fresh and original. That's how I felt like when I went and saw Shazam. I was like, what the hell is this? We got this guy, he's a little kid yelling Shazam and he shoots up in the air. What is this? But it was interesting. You know, I go into these other movies like I keep saying Spider-Man, I keep going back to it, but they've remade the damn thing so many times. Like Spider-Man, I enjoy those movies, but I'm never like just hyped to see him anymore. Like whenever a new Spider-Man comes out, I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it when I watch it. I'll go see it. But I'm never just like, before it comes out, I'm like, I gotta see it. I gotta go see it. Because I feel like, you know, what is it going to do that I haven't really seen? And this is they have an opportunity here to do something new and fresh. And we don't get that a lot, especially in the comic book genre now. It's being just drugged through the dirt. The comic book movies are coming out in droves like every month. Another thing with this story, I didn't include it here because it just happened this afternoon. Apparently, Dwayne Johnson, I always want to call him The Rock. I know that's not his name anymore.
Call him The Rock. I mean, that's who he is. The people's elbow, right, Greg? No,
yeah.
He said, was it the people's eyebrow or the people's elbow?
He's the people's something. I know that.
He did the eyebrow and
yeah,
the
he
elbow.
always did this thing, but he is apparently championing. I promised I wasn't going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League anymore after the movie came out, but there is this thing where they're saying now, instead of release the Snyder Cut, they're saying restore the Snyderverse, because, you know, after the Snyder Cut, they said, well, that's it. This is a one-off. We're going in a new direction. Zack Snyder's not going to be in DCEU anymore. They're going a whole new direction. But now apparently people liked the Snyder Cut or Zack Snyder's Justice League so much that they're saying, no, we want where he was going with that. Bring that back. And Warner Brothers keeps saying, no, we're not doing. But apparently Dwayne Johnson, today, just announced that he's been going to the executive saying, no, this is what we need to do. I, Dwayne Johnson, one of the most bankable actors in Hollywood and one of the stars of one of your next movies, want my movie to be included in the Snyderverse, and I also want that universe to continue. So, I mean, I don't know how many other actors have the clout to go into an executive's office and say, yeah, you know what, you might want to rethink that there, buddy. But apparently The Rock does, and if anybody could do it, I would think that he could. I mean, name a movie he's been in, not that's bad, but that has done bad. His movies all make money. They're gold. You know, it's...
Honestly, I mean, to the first question, that's bad. I can't think of him actually not acting well in any of the movies he's in, whether he's in some, kiddie movie or he's a serious guy, I liked him in Pain and Gain.
I did too.
He was great in that.
That movie's got a lot of controversy.
It was a serious movie too when you really think about what it was about. It was based on a true story.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They really were bodybuilders, and it was just Mark Wahlberg, and it was just he was good in that. I wouldn't mind saying The Rock, and I feel like later on, like he's gonna get the serious roles that he deserves. I mean, you can even see him kind of comical in Fast and Furious in a way.
Sure.
But I feel like a real serious role where he's like a cop, a real cop. You know what I mean? Like some sort of Brooklyn's Finest or Training Day or something type of movie where he's like really just, really getting a serious role beneath him. I can't think of anything. I mean, he's been in some serious movies, I'm sure. He has such a lengthy filmography now. It's kind of like, I bet he's booked up to at least 2022. At least if you looked at his Wikipedia.
He's probably beyond that, I'm sure. There's stuff we don't even know about. This guy ain't got to work another day in his life, and I'm sure he gets roles thrown at him left and right. He is definitely, absolutely one of, if he's not the most, he is one of the most bankable actors in Hollywood. If your movie gets The Rock, okay, it's going to be a success. I mean, it might get trash. It could be a shit movie, but it's going to make money just by having his name on it.
But, in that regard, though, a lot of people say, especially with him being as bankable as he is, he's taken on sort of that, like, Tom Cruise persona. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he utilizes his clout in, like a negative way. You know what I mean? Like take that new Mummy, for instance, right? Okay? So he significantly had the mummy, that girl who played the mummy, he had her screen time like dramatically reduced because he wanted to have a certain amount,
Oh yeah,
so I
Tom
read.
Cruise did. Yeah, yeah.
And that
He's
was, for one thing, I was mad that it wasn't Brendan Fraser. I mean, come on now. And then this guy, here he is, and I like that, the mummy. You know what I mean? So I wanted
sure.
to see more screen time with her, and just Tom Cruise just made me mad with that whole thing. I bet you he didn't even want to do it originally, but like that was just a bad idea to me on the studio's part, like a
So
bad investment. Like they
another
spent too
remake.
much money on Tom Cruise for one thing. Like that was like, I mean, silly. They probably could have got Brendan Fraser and that one guy, her brother, his girl. They didn't even use the same wife or
Oh yeah,
anything. Like the whole,
John Hannah. Yeah.
yeah, John Hannah. I really like him. Like, every movie he's in, I think of him as that guy from The Mummy. Like, even when he was in something from like 500 AD or something, I'm like, oh, it's the guy from The Mummy, John Hannah. But yeah, I just think that they went down the drain. Then they spent a ton of money on it. They didn't I mean, The Mummy, the original one had three. Then The Rock was in Scorpion King, which I really liked him in that.
That was his first movie. That was his first
That was
movie.
his first movie.
Yeah, the Scorpion King
Yeah,
was his breakout.
I didn't know that. I really liked him in that. Actually, yeah, I can tell that that was his first movie. He didn't nearly have the
Well, he's
amount of
only in
muscle
the
mass.
he's in the end of it. He just popped out as well. No, I guess he was in the beginning in like a flashback, and then it showed him as that half scorpion. That picture, that video of him coming out that you see on all the bad CGI videos on YouTube, because it did look
Then
pretty
he
bad.
had a second one, didn't he?
Oh yeah, well they made a Scorpion King spin-off series that he was in, at least the first one. I don't think he was in the second one, but he was in the first Scorpion King spin-off series too. But yeah, I mean the guy.
Yeah.
But even then, I mean he was known then. I mean, like you asked about the wrestling stuff. I have never followed wrestling. I don't know really a lot about it. It just wasn't my thing, even back in the '80s when wrestling during its heyday. But I knew who The Rock was.
Macho Man.
Yeah, Macho. Yeah, brother. I knew.
And that was marketing. That's what they had, such gimmicky
personas.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It was to the point where like I didn't even like to see him get beat up. I'd be like crying, like that's Macho Man. You know what I mean? Like you knew him from the Slim Jim
He
commercial.
snaps into a Slim Jim.
Then he's just taking a beating all of a sudden. You're like, wow, wait, no. And
Yeah,
then the whole thing that it was like, oh, wrestling is theater, and that was heartbreaking too, because you idolized them as like heroes, and now you find out that The Rock really wasn't even. You know what I mean? Wrestling for real. He probably couldn't wait to get out of that, use that as a stepping stone. I mean, he was in entertainment anyway.
Sure.
So.
Well,
that
and
was probably...
that's what, like, even though I didn't follow it, I knew who he was. I knew his, like, can you smell what the Rock? I knew all that, and I mean, I knew his, like, jabroni and all that stuff. That's how big he was then.
That's
he was in
all I know, too.
He was in a sector that I just had I did not follow at all, and I knew about him. So coming over here, I mean, yeah, the guy. I think if anybody could get this Snyderverse restored or whatever, it's definitely him. But even if he doesn't, this movie apparently, I mean, even if they get it restored, I don't think this movie's going to change much from whatever it is at this point. I don't know how. I do know that this movie is connected to Shazam, so I think that we're probably going to be looking at a similar tone. Maybe I don't know if Black Adam is much of a comedy as Shazam. I have no idea. I don't know anything about it, and like I said, that's what kind of makes me excited about it. I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it and think it'll be a good time. Oh, well, on top of that, going from Black Adam, we've also got some news about I guess it's not really a spinoff. Black Adam's kind of spinning off or backdoor spinning off of this movie. A movie that I am looking a little bit more forward to, and I have seen the original, the sequel to Shazam. Shazam 2, which is actually called Fury of the Gods, I think. Yeah, Fury of the Gods. Got a little bit. I'm excited about this. Some people are going to hear this news and be like, what I'm about to say, and they're going to be like, I mean, okay. I'm kind of hyped about this because I really like this actor. But Deadlines reports that Helen Mirren has closed a deal to play the villain Hespera, described as a daughter of Atlas. She'll join fellow franchise newcomer Rachel Zegler as sisters who both may or may not be of ill intent, per The Hollywood Reporter. There doesn't appear to be a clear DC counterpart for Hespera, nor does the character have a foundation in Greek mythology. The closest equivalent in Greek mythology, which Shazam is based a lot around, might be Hesperia, one of the nymphs of evening and golden light of sunsets, and the daughter of Hesperus, who could refer to any manner of character or places, including the wife of Asicus and daughter of the river Seberin. Sebrin, I think.
That sounds heavily Greek.
Yeah,
anything that has to do with Greek mythology definitely interests me. I'm really into that, so I like that aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. It says for the most part, it seems like director David F. Sandberg and writer Henry Gayden, both returning after a successful 2019 original, will be forging ahead with a relatively new story of their own. It's clear that Shazam, Fury of the Gods, will delve into the divine elements of Shazam, the superhero played by Zachary Levi, that teenager Billy Batson, Asher Angel, transforms into when he speaks the magic word. But we've received very few details about the sequel other than it involving more Shazam family fun, and that it will likely set up the arrival of Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam. But we'll never be upset about more Mirren and on our screens. Me neither, because Helen Mirren, I have always said, she's an older woman. I'm not sure how old she is. She's on up there. She is on up there. I think she is one of the most attractive older women in film. There's something about that. I think she just has like this elegance. I mean, she's a whole lot older than me. It's not even a sexiness. It's just like, it's like this. She's a great actor too, by the way. She's a great actor, but
that's attractive in itself.
Yeah, she is. She's just got this great, just like this elegance about herself, and I love anything she's in. She's captivating. I mean, I'm using a word like that. That sounds real pretentious, but I mean, everything she's in, she's even in the Fast and the Furious movies. That just dawned on me. She's the mom of Jason Statham and somebody else. I don't know. But even when she's in a corny, over-the-top, kind of stupid action movie, she is the most elegant, refined part of it. And her playing a villain here, I can't wait to see that. I've never seen her. I guess kind of she was sort of a villain in the Fast and the Furious, but she didn't really have a lot of screen time. But in this movie, I'm thinking she's going to play like a comic book villain, a much bigger villain. I can't wait to see that because she's usually very reserved. So I'm wondering how she's going to do that. I don't think she'll be over the top. I think she's going to be great and real menacing. Really, anything she's in, man. I love like those Red movies she was in. Best part of the fucking movie. She's great. I love this woman. She was really attractive when she was younger, and she retained that attractiveness, but not just her looks. She's just a great actress. So I'm really happy to see that. Gives me hope because I was worried that Shazam was. I enjoyed Shazam. I was worried it was a lightning in a bottle, no pun intended, but kind of like okay, that they just happened to make a fun movie there. They need to leave it alone. But if she's involved, I don't know if I've ever seen a Helen Mirren movie that wasn't at least entertaining. So if she's involved.
She wouldn't play in one that she didn't think that the script was to her liking. I can at least say that, I bet, because just in her, I mean, it's so late in her career for her to have a bust right now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you don't want to leave your legacy on a sour note. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. And
I would.
I don't think
really,
I'm
like Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah.
Will we ever see him in anything else, really?
I'm with you there. I think that she's not going to pick a role unless something about it speaks to her and says, "Hey, this is going to be a good role. There's a reason I'm going to be in this, and it's not for a paycheck." I'm sure she's got plenty of money, but so I'm interested in this. I mean, we don't get a lot of information from that, of course. I mean, we know it's coming out. I don't think they say here it's coming out before Black Adam. I know that, so probably. Because I think this movie is actually going to introduce that character, maybe even in a end credit scene or something like that. I don't know, but so it'll be before Black Adam. They said is July 29th, 2022. So before then, we're gonna get Shazam 2. I'm excited for it. I enjoyed Shazam 1, but now that I see that and all this Greek mythology stuff. You mentioned the Greek mythology. I really like Greek mythology. There's just all kinds of really interesting stuff they can do with it.
I've really been immersed in it at different times in my life. Like, I've had to read, of course, like, Oedipus and different things for school. But that took me personally to researching it on my own. Just the idea of, like, Medusa, actually. Just different things like that.
Sure.
I can't even really I mean, I could think of tons of people, but it's like, you go down such a rabbit hole when you really start trying to connect everything. You know what I mean? Like they're almost certainly, if they even started talking about Greek mythology, they're going to introduce a bunch more characters in that regard, I would assume,
Yeah.
later down the line.
Well, I know that Shazam, the history, I don't know as much about Shazam, but from what I saw in the movie and what I read when the first movie came out, Shazam, a lot of the history of that is kind of sort of, it's based in like the whole gods and stuff like that. It's like that aspect of Greek mythology. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go with it, how they're going to kind of twist that mythology around. And I mean, it says that they're doing an original movie or original story, which I don't know if the first one was original or not. But I mean, they got all the same people coming back from the first movie. Plus, hey, like I said, they had a Helen Mirren, so I'm down for that. What did you think of the? Have you seen the first Shazam? And if you have, what did you think of it?
I honestly can't say that I've seen the first one, Jacob, to be honest. I can't say that I haven't either. I just may have seen it one time. Like I told you, I have to watch something like 8 times here at the computer before it sinks into my mind, before it's downloaded to the standalone drive, if you will. I have to
Gotcha.
watch it like 2 or 3 times here. But yeah, I mean, it's not something that I wouldn't watch, though. I will tell you that. I am loosely affiliated with those movies because my dad is such a big fan still to this day. So, I
Gotcha.
mean, anything that, if you were to go to his prime or anything like that, you would almost certainly see that movie.
Sure.
You'd probably be tapping me in the leg right now, like I'll say this. You know,
Well, it's definitely worth checking out. I
especially
really
about
enjoyed it.
Kong. He's been talking about King Kong and Godzilla for like a week now. So
Oh yeah, me too.
I
Me
have
and your
to
dad would
watch
get
that,
along.
but take his input on it so I can come to the table intelligently next time. Like, oh yes, let me explain to you about exactly Godzilla from 1972. All right.
Oh yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that one too. I can't wait for that. I hope it's good because I was kind of disappointed with the last one. But yeah, Shazam. You said if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. It's more of a comedy action movie. It's got a lot of comedy in it, and that's what I liked about it. It was very refreshing, like because it's ultimately a little kid who is it's like Big, the superhero hero version. There's a little kid who gets turned into an adult, but the adult's got superpowers. So that was fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time, and anybody who's looking forward to Shazam, Black Adam, just some more DC goodness. We don't know what direction the DCEU is going, but we do know that we're getting a Shazam 2 and Black Adam. And so far, I like what these two are selling, and I'm looking forward to it. All right, so going on from comic books, we're going to roll right into another comic book and an adaptation of this comic book. It's a new comic book, but it's one I'm not familiar with. I've heard of, but I am very interested in it, and that's for one reason. We're talking about Keanu Reeves' Brzrkrs and how it's getting a movie and more. According to THR, Netflix has recently signed on to produce and distribute a new film, Brzkr, starring Keanu Reeves. The film is based on the recently released comic book of the same name that is co-written by Reeves and is already one of the best-selling comics of 2021. The comic, and thus the film, follows the story of an immortal warrior that has spent 80,000 years fighting various battles. He's half mortal, half god, that is cursed with immortality and the compulsion to carry out violence. The story picks up in the modern day, where he is attempting to figure out the truth of his dilemma and possibly how to end it. In only 2 weeks of release, because this thing, the comic book just recently came out, but in only 2 weeks of release, Boom Studios has sold 615,000 copies of the comic book. In addition to the news that Netflix is working on a live-action film based on Brzkr, the company is also working on an anime spin-off of the potential franchise as well. A release date has yet to be announced for Brzkr. I ain't gonna lie. The first thing when I read that, I mean, Keanu Reeves is involved, so I'm interested. I wanna. I mean, Keanu Reeves is kind of gold. We were talking about cinematic gold earlier. He's definitely cinematic gold right now, and I'm really interested in some. That sounds like something he would be really cool in. This whole idea sounds cool, but it also seems really familiar. I'm not gonna lie. Hopefully, it has its own take. There was a movie that came out this past year on Netflix called The Old Guard with Charlize Theron. And this just sounds a lot like it. I'm not bashing it, but it does seem very old guardish. Thankfully, though, I like the old guard. I thought that was a fun movie. It was about some immortal warriors that have been around since like the beginning of time, or like since Jesus or something like that, and they go around just like solving the world's problems in violent fashion. And some stuff happens. So I mean, if this is in line with that, but it also, I've heard that this is an extremely violent comic book, so if it's like that, I mean, this could be a good time. Seeing Keanu Reeves all like in this picture here, all shredded out with a, looks like a sword, maybe. I think I've seen pictures of him with swords, and he's also got guns, and he goes around and just like,
John Wick.
yeah, just John Wick fucking everybody up, like just blood and guts everywhere, just crazy, senseless violence and action. It could be a good time. I could enjoy that. I mean, Reeves has been kind of on a kick here, not recently, but for a while. He's just been hit after hit after hit. I mean, he did make that Replicas movie, which I feel like was an obligation or something. That movie was terrible. Nobody's probably seen it, and that's a good thing. But beyond that movie, pretty much everything he's been in has been at least entertaining. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, the idea behind this comic, like I said, sounds like a mix of Blade, the Old Guard, and all, these immortals going around just like killing the hell out of people. The only problem I have with immortals fighting like that in movies and in media is that if they're immortal, can you really put them in danger? I mean, there's no way to kill them. I mean, the movie has to either come up with some type of contrived way that, oh, this is how they could die, like, oh, now there's something that could possibly kill them, or it puts a more creative way, but maybe a little bit more difficult, is to put something else in danger that they have to protect. Kind of like the Superman thing. You can't really hurt Superman, but what the villains can do is hurt the things Superman cares about. Metropolis, his family, things like that. So it's not really about Superman being hurt usually. It's more about him being able to save the people he cares about. I'm wondering which direction they'll go with this. Either way, though, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be cool. I'm not a big comic book reader. By not big, I mean I don't really read any. I did when I was a kid, but not really now. I don't have time. But have you heard anything about Brzkr, Antonio? What does it? Does this sound like something that you would be down for?
Personally, I do like Keanu. A lot of these actors now, not to say that they're just chasing a bag or anything like that, but I really like them for who they are, and I feel like they make the movie enjoyable for me. Like knowing that Keanu will be in it, knowing that Dwayne Johnson will be in things, and
Sure.
no, I mean he's not in this, but I'm just saying that those actors make it something that I want to see. Technically, I hate to even say this. I mean, there may be a name for it, but if an actor I like isn't in one of my movies in particular, technically I really don't like that movie, even having before seen it. It's like you have to have an incentive by one of your people. You know what I mean? Someone who's acting that you really just like their movies, that you want to see them.
Sure.
Like a great singer, you want to hear their songs. With whatever band they may have gone to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely helps. Like we were talking about with Black Adam, or at least I was talking about. I one of the key things, besides it sounding kind of original, that makes me want to see that is that Dwayne Johnson's in it, and I really like The Rock. I mean, I smell what The Rock is cooking, and I like it, and so I'm looking forward to that. If it wasn't him, if it was, I don't know, Jason Statham. Well, I like Jason Statham too. If it was Vin Diesel playing that role, I'd be like, I mean, I'll see it when I see it. I wouldn't be as like hyped to see Black Adam. I would just be like, it might be good, it might not. It's got Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
But since Dwayne The Rock Johnson's in it, that makes me say, yeah, I want to see that as soon as it comes out. I'm sure it's going to be, if nothing else, he's going to be fun.
And one thing I will say is that, like, it's sort of all for me, like, as a sort of casual person who hasn't really been following the whole thing. It's like all getting sort of, not, I don't want to say convoluted, but there's just too much going on right now for me. You know what I mean? To jump in and try to start from day one. You know what I mean? Like, there's Endgame. I'm still stuck on how everyone died in Endgame. I did watch that. That messed me up. Like, I just couldn't fathom the idea that everyone was dead,
Yeah.
And it was like, now stuff's still going on, and it was like, I got to catch up with that, So, if I will say that, like, by by The Rock wanting to continue the universe, I mean, he's going to have to bring everybody else on board. I mean, good thing that was that Zack Snyder's first situation?
What do you mean? His first movie?
His first, yeah, no, not first movie, but like, I mean, was he already making?
Oh yeah, like, Zack Snyder has pretty much started the DCU. He did. He started it with Man of Steel, and then he did Batman versus Superman. And he was involved with Wonder Woman, like a producer, and I think some writing credits. He was involved
so he's
with
well
Aquaman.
known, like a Rob Zombie type of guy for DCU and Marvel.
Oh yeah, he was pretty much the, Kevin Feige is kind of over Marvel. He was kind of like the more involved Kevin Feige of DC. He was the mastermind behind the DCEU. Well, all the DC movies that have come up to this point, at least.
Got it. I mean, there's just always risk that, like, when someone else, I mean, it's okay to, like, have an opinion. Like, I mean, that's okay, you know what I mean, on anything. I mean, if people want Snyder's universe, but you have to risk losing the other fans, you know what I mean? I feel like, who don't want that.
Well.
So, I mean, what do you think in that
when it comes to the Snyderverse? I don't know. I mean, there's always going to be people that, like, dislike his movies and his style because it is different. But the only other thing that we have that's not part of his universe from DC at this point would be that first version of Justice League, which had his fingerprints on it to a degree at least. But,
yes.
That wasn't his movie. All the other ones that have come out since, I don't know about Wonder Woman 84, but Aquaman, and the only other movies that have come out since he left was Aquaman, or Wonder Woman, Aquaman, I think that's it. Oh, and Shazam. All the other movies, those movies have all had, he was there for the beginning of them. He was there. He wasn't going to be directing them anyway, but he was there as a producer. He had say-so on it. They're following his lead in his universe. So I don't know if we really have any fan, because the only movie that we could say isn't part of his universe, it is, but isn't his, shares that tone that these other DC movies is that first version of Justice League we've got in 2017. And I don't know if you're going to find many people that say that they like that movie. Most people say, I don't like that one. So, I mean...
his way, for lack of a better word, present in that first movie, his universe itself as it is in the new one?
The universe...
So, like, was the new one a continuation of that movie?
No, the new one was that whole thing was, he was making that movie. He filmed it all. He filmed everything for Justice League in 2016. Daughter passed away. He had to leave in the middle of it while they were editing and putting it together.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she committed suicide, his teenage daughter. Well, I think she was like 19, 20. But he went, he left production for that. They brought in Joss Whedon, who did the Avengers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and things like that, to finish the film. But instead of just finishing it, he went and reshot like 80% of it or something like that. So, but he stuck to the basic bones of the story, but that's just it. Just bare bones. That's it. Nothing else. So he made that movie. This new one is all the stuff that Zack Snyder shot. It's the same movie, but it's extremely different. It's a really wild, weird thing, because it's like you're watching this movie and you're like, I've seen this movie, but I haven't. And his vision and his version of it are leaps and bounds better than that 2017 one. And yes, it's really long, but once again, you're not sitting in a theater.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's the actual vision. That first movie was a mess. It was just a jumbled mess of it. Nobody liked it. Everybody talked smack about it. And then you see this one and you're like, yes, this is what we should have gotten. I mean, is it the basic same story? Yes. It's told in a completely different way, though. It is essentially, they took two different directors and said, both of you tell the same story, and we got to see how different that could possibly be. And that's what we got. There is a little bit of his scenes in that too. Some of the stuff, like I said, they reshot like 60 to 80% of it. So there is at least 20 to 40% of the stuff shot, but edited totally differently. Even like stuff, special effects put over it differently, all that in the original version. But it's even color graded different. It does not look like his movie. It's not his movie at all. So that was that whole thing. So I don't think they're going to make anybody mad if they went that direction. Not as far as like they're not going to make anybody who's a fan because there just aren't any fans of the other way. Now you got people that don't care for his style, that the direction
Right.
he's taken DC.
As Rob Zombie did with Halloween, like that in that
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. You got people that aren't going to like that version. But I mean, you got a lot of people, especially now since this new version came out, that are like, yeah, I feel this. I'm digging this. We want more of this. And I don't know.
That's what they want to do. Then I would suggest. I mean, there's people that are like in terms of like what we were talking about with remakes. Like some people just don't want to see things changed. Like they just don't even care to hear what the benefits of the remake may be. They just want to keep things the same or keep going in the same direction and don't even want to even acknowledge, just let in a change at all. So, you just have to be open to things, I think. Me personally.
Well, those same people
watch every Marvel and DC movie that exists. I'm going to watch them all to get on your level for these streams, man.
It's going to be a long day. Those same people.
Can you do that in one day?
I don't think so. Well, Marvel alone, the MCU movies, I think there's 20 or 20 to 22 of them now. So at least 2 hours each. So. No, I don't think that'd be possible in one day. That might be a real long weekend with no sleep. But as far as Keanu Reeves,
you go to sleep, it's gonna cut into Monday.
Yeah. As far as Keanu Reeves' Brzkr, though, like I said, this sounds like. I'm okay with this. Does sound like not a new original story so much. It's an original comic, but I'm okay with this being hey, we've heard a similar story like this before, as long as they do it in a creative, entertaining, interesting way. So Reeves is involved. He hasn't disappointed in a while. He's disappointed before, but not in a while. He hadn't straight up disappointed me in a while. So I'm interested. This was
he's bankable too.
Yeah, and this was a labor of love for him with this whole comic book thing, and they're putting a lot of money behind it. So I like the idea, but we'll find out. That, like it says, there's no release date as of yet. But Netflix tends to move forward with their movies and their projects really quick, especially nowadays. So I think. We'll probably see this thing sooner than later. I wouldn't be surprised if 1 year from now, if it ain't coming, if we don't have a release date, we'll probably be hearing a lot more about this Brzkr thing coming soon. But going from that, Keanu Reeves news, we got a little bit more Keanu. That's not the only Keanu. We got a lot more Keanu. Not a lot more. We got just a little bit more. We're going to talk about what's next in the world of John Wick. And this story is a little bit, I don't know. It's got a silver lining, I suppose, but I look at it as a possible bad thing. We'll have to see. But apparently, the creator of John Wick's creator is getting left behind for John Wick 4 and 5. There's apparently a 4 and 5 already greenlit. It says John Wick screenwriter Derek Kolstad created the John Wick character and universe and has solo writing credits on the first two Keanu Reeves starring action movies, 2014's John Wick and 2017's John Wick 2, or John Wick Chapter 2. While Kolstad cracked the story for 2019's John Wick 3, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, he shared screenwriting credit with Shay Hatton, Chris Collins, and Mark Abrams. Now, with the upcoming John Wick 4 and John Wick 5, Kolstad is not involved whatsoever. In his words, at a certain stage, the studio will tell you your creation is graduated and you wish it well. Kolstad recently told Collider, I'm still close with the director of the first and second film. I don't know what's going to happen, but I am excited to see. When asked if it was his decision to step away from the film or from the film franchise, Kolstad answered, no, it wasn't my decision. When you think of the contractuality of these things, the third one I shared the credit with a number of people. The studio didn't have to come back to me, and so they didn't. Kolstad continued, and so you look at that and you could be hurt. And I would say if it was 20 years ago, I would have been. But seeing that where the industry is now and how things go, I just believe that you bless everything and hope it all the best. And to the players involved who are doing other things elsewhere, and yeah, it's personal, so I'm never going to talk shit about John Wick. I want this thing to survive and thrive. The financial success of the third John Wick entry resulted in the announcement of the 2 sequels, John Wick 4 and John Wick 5. Both films will be shot back-to-back, with John Wick 4 currently on release calendar for May 27, 2022, and John Wick 5 won't release until 2023 at the earliest, though it was just announced that they will no longer be being shot back-to-back. That just came out today. I added that. They are still making Part 4 and 5, but they're not going to be shot back-to-back like they originally were. I look at this. I think this guy. This is. I commend this guy. I've actually talked about him here on the show before. He's actually working on a few other projects. One of which being a Dungeons and Dragons show or movie. There's a show and a movie coming. He's working on one of them. So I mean, the guy's got work. He's gonna be all right, and probably off all the residuals he gets from the John Wick movies, he's gonna be okay. But I don't know, man. That sounds like he just like got booted. They just said, "Hey, get the fuck out." Like he had no choice. This was his baby, and then they just didn't come back to him for the next one. So I mean, I don't know. That kind of stings. And like he said, he probably would have got mad 20 years ago. But now at this point, what do? He doesn't own the property. He created it, but he's got to watch it go on without him now. And that's messed up because I've really enjoyed all 3 John Wick movies, and he was involved in all of them. And I thought, hell, the first 2, I enjoyed the third one too, but I thought the first 2 were the best ones so far. And that's the ones he was solely involved with. Those were solely his baby, and they're getting rid of the guy. But that just really, you hear about this kind of stuff happens in Hollywood all the time, and that just sucks that they actually came to him and said, hey, you know what? Your creation has graduated, and now you just need to wish it well. I mean, that's how was that conversation?
That was kind of harsh, I would say. Like in a way, it's kind of like they like claimed this video. Like, I mean, okay, like thanks, but you're not gonna receive thanks, but we're gonna have all the money, and you can toodaloo now.
Yeah, he got a copyright claim on his franchise.
Your tenure has lapsed.
Yeah, and I mean
your services are no longer warranted. I mean, we don't need you. Thanks for the idea, the concept, all of it, but we don't need you anymore.
Thanks for creating this multi-million-dollar franchise for us that's like huge now, but yeah, peace, love, chicken grease, you know.
See you later. You can still go, you know that.
We've got everything we need.
Ruthless, man.
Oh,
When it comes down to those dollars and cents, you know, that I started it stuff is out the window. If you hire an accountant, you'll probably be like threatened at that point, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
because gee, now someone else knows, you know. It's like, okay.
I mean, that is just
sad they did that to him.
Yeah, that's sucks. I mean, like I said, the guy's going to be okay. And I mean, he's the creator of John Wick. He can go somewhere and be like, hey, I created John Wick. Okay, how much money do you want? And we'll help you make it. Like, I mean, look at the director, I think, of the first John Wick. I think it was the first John Wick. He's gone on to make a movie that comes out this week called Nobody that I'm watching this weekend, but I heard that movie, it looks great, but I wasn't sure about it, but everybody's saying it's awesome. It's like it's similar to John Wick in that way. So, I mean, you know, the people that are involved in these movies, they've got a reputation. He's going to be all right. But, damn, that's just got to sting. You know, you finally, as a writer and a creator, because he created that. He didn't just, I mean, yes, he was the writer, but he created John Wick, that character, the story, everything. And, you know, that's your baby. You created it, and you see it, like, flourish, and then it's just taken away from you. That just has to suck.
And they couldn't have done that to Albert Broccoli, though, or Broccoli, or however you pronounce the James Bond guy's creator's name. His daughter is the one making all the decisions now. I mean, even with, you know, what Daniel Craig, I mean, he answers to her.
Sure,
I mean, so she has total creative control over her father's entire creation. So it's kind of hard to believe that even happened to him in that regard. He must have messed up on the contract or something somehow.
And that's probably what it was. You know, a lot of these movie deals, because James Bond, because those started as books too. So he the studios are licensing the James Bond name and like all that stuff from that estate because they own the rights to that character from the books. John Wick started as a movie, so he would have written this script and sold the script. And probably had a contract.
He had to go and market the movie.
Yeah.
He had to go and market. Yeah.
So he lost it because, I mean, as soon as he sold it, which that's just how Hollywood is, unfortunately, to make these movies, you got to sell them. and you got to sell these projects and just hope that they keep you involved and do the best. But then you have times like this that it goes away. I don't know how this makes me feel, because I enjoy the John Wick movies. I don't know if we need a John Wick 4 and 5. I said that in my John Wick 3 Parabellum review. I could see how they were going to do something. I mean, I enjoy the series, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you guys take it too far, you're going to beat it into the ground. And I'm like, I don't know if we need a 4 and 5, but I mean, they're going to make them. But with him not being involved, because he was the story writer, he had a lot of creative control over that franchise up to this point. So I'm wondering, what's it going to be like? You take a core element away from this franchise, a core creative element away from this franchise. Is it going to suffer, or is it going to be able to survive without him? I guess we'll find out. I think it was next year sometime. Yeah, May 27, 2022. We'll find out. But I will give the guy this much: he's taking it in stride, man. Because this is definitely his biggest thing he's done in his career. John Wick was his thing. You know, he is probably going to be forever known as the creator of John Wick. And it's been taken from him. He had no choice, nothing he could do about it, no recourse. And the guy's just taking it in stride. He's just like, I could talk shit about him, but I'm not. I'm just going to wish everybody the best, and I hope I see it thrive. I hope John Wick does well. Good for them. I'm like, damn, you are better than me. Because I would be at every news outlet pissed as hell.
The truth is, though, that, they could really, it's sort of 50-50, you know what I mean? Because, like, John Wick was what it was, now when it changes hands. With so many movies out now, people are really going to be looking at this next one like, okay, am I done with this? So it's kind of like, it kind of bowed him out, kind of, when you think about it. I mean, not that the movie is going to go bad anyway with Keanu or anybody like that, but I mean, like, once you start getting up in those sort of that territory,
sure,
I feel like your movie is, like, think of the Saw franchise, all right? I mean,
I'd
Saw
rather
3, I'm just saying.
I know what you mean.
Okay, you know what I mean? The first one was great, and or even Fast and Furious or any of them, any movie that has multiple sequels that ends up becoming like a trilogy, then it becomes like a saga, and then, you know what I mean? It almost has to have, like, the story is what propels something to become a saga.
Yeah.
This next director, he's probably not going to have any continuity, this next guy.
Well,
he's going to jump in and try to change the whole thing.
That your traditional story arc is a 3-part story arc. I mean, even movies, beginning, middle, end. And that's why you hear about, they're always saying, oh, they're making a trilogy. They're making a trilogy. Because trilogies are like movies, series are like that. They have that. They usually do just as an overarching story. They have the first movie's the beginning, the middle one's the middle, and like Lord of the Rings, for instance, that kind of thing. That's why trilogies work. If you look at the history of fourth movies and franchises, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not going to say
like do or die. I bet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the overwhelming majority of them are not received very well. There's probably some good ones out there. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know.
Revenge.
The fourth Fast and the Furious was okay, but even it was a bit. It's usually by the time they get to that fourth movie, they don't know where to go, and they're kind of like.
That's what I mean. And then Tokyo Drift came after that, right?
Tokyo Drift was the third one, yeah. The fourth one was, but the fourth Fast and the Furious was kind of aimless as well. It wasn't until the fifth one that it really took off. But the fourth entry, because they are those things, those stories that these people come up with for sequels and everything, they are typically around beginning, middle, end. 3 of them. You get to the fourth one, and a lot of the times you find people not knowing what to do. I mean, not never. Sometimes they do, but I mean, more times than not, they just are kind of aimless and they don't take off. So, I mean, this might be a blessing for this guy. So maybe he's not connected with it anymore, and if it comes out in bombs, and I don't care what he says, even though he is taking it like a champ, and that's great. He's got some, great outward-facing approach to it. But I guarantee if this guy's sitting at his house on May 27th, 2022, and they come out and the reviews start coming out, if they come out and they say, this movie's dog shit, it's terrible, he's going to be sitting at home like, yep. That's what you get, motherfuckers. You took me out of it. And that's what you get. It's just like when I used to be in management, or when I used to run when I was a chef and I was running restaurants and stuff, when I would leave a restaurant and go somewhere else, I always would say, and I did, I wanted that restaurant to prevail, because I would usually go into places and help them turn around and get them better and stuff, mostly. So I would be like, okay, I want it to continue doing well. I want this person who's taking over in my leave to, be successful. I want my legacy to live on. Exactly. But I ain't gonna lie, there was always a part of me that when I would come back, in a few months or a year or two or whatever,
you'd be like, yep, I knew you were gonna mess it up.
And they'd be like, oh yeah, it really went downhill. There's just something kind of like, yep, without me, that's what happened.
Yeah.
So
because honestly, there are people don't, you have to, like John Wick is adapted to whatever. You know what I mean? He didn't know he was going to talk about in part 3 what he was, going to talk about when he was making part 1.
Sure.
That story went from, it was like a transitional thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now this new guy, he has to look at somebody else's work and just sit there and sort of try to make it more, because he's not going to just continue, you know what I mean? He's not just going to be like, oh, okay. He's not going to continue. He's going to try and do his own thing, especially what you were saying with the 4th movie.
Sure.
So, yeah, I feel like it's make or break, really. I mean, we may never see another one. Like, look at Taken, right? It was Taken 1, 2,
Lord.
and 3.
Yeah.
Those were great movies. I like Taken, but, they really can't come out. It was all about, okay, they're going to take you, all right? They're going to take you again.
It's in the title.
You're going to be taken again. Now they can't take you
Bitch,
anymore.
stop getting taken.
Hey, right.
Keep your ass at the fucking house.
All right? It's 2021. Put a tracker in her purse, all right?
That's one particular skill
Bourne,
Liam Neeson does not
ultimatum, have. Okay? Jason Bourne just kept, he wanted to know what happened. Okay, part 1, he found out what happened. Part 2, he's getting revenge. Part 3, the ultimatum came. He beat everybody up. Now what? He knows who he is. Now what?
Now what?
Oh, let's bring that one guy in and just do a whole new thing. What was that guy's
Jeremy
name?
Renner.
Yeah, I like Jeremy Renner, but that
movie,
Bourne Ultimatum was stupid. I didn't like that one.
Oh, they made another one after that with Matt Damon, and it wasn't any good either.
Yeah. I bet you they would have continued with Renner had that. Matt Damon probably didn't even want to do it anymore. He's already. I'm sure he's filthy. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well,
and,
but
that was late in his career when he got all famous again. Think about that. You're 55 or something. Now you suddenly get famous for being an action star after making 30 movies. I'm like, come on now. I got to start doing this now. What were you guys doing when I was in Good Will Hunting? Why didn't you come out with this
right
when I was 28? I
don't want to do this shit anymore. My back hurts.
Yeah, and I honestly have read things where they say that, like those bodybuild. that stuff's grueling. Look at how many times is Christian Bale going to be able to
lose weight and gain it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that stuff has got to be taking a toll on him by now.
Oh, absolutely.
Dick Cheney, he's probably never. That's why he hasn't been in anything. He's probably still Dick Cheney walking around. He's like, hey, you know what? People don't even recognize me anymore. I ought to just stay like this. Now I can go get a burger in peace. People don't even recognize Dick Cheney anymore. That's what day and age we live in. He could just be Dick Cheney, and they'd be like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Well, John Wick 4 and 5, I bet, on real quick, I bet that's why they just did announce, because like I said, they were going to be shooting John Wick 4 and 5 back to back. And I bet that's why just today it came out, and that's why I texted on there at the end that they're not going to be shooting them back to back. They're still saying they're making them, but they're going to do 4 and then they'll do 5. I'm wondering if this press about it, they're kind of like, well, let's make 4 and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm telling you that has to be, because they were confident with the other guy. They're like, oh man, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just like Daniel Craig, he got to the point where he didn't even want to do the last Bond. He was scheduled for like 4 or 5 Bonds, and then he just thought he was done. He's the first Bond that ever even made another movie, Defiance, while he was still James Bond. Pierce Brosnan didn't do that. Roger Moore, none of them made anything else while they were James Bond.
Hell,
except Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig didn't want to do the last James Bond he already made. Now he's got another one coming if they ever release the fucking thing.
Yeah, he just was tired of it, and I feel like that's from his age and his stuff. He's just done running around, And one thing about James Bond that I like is actually he's known for kind of getting beat up and prevailing. He never just beats people up like John Wick and them. He takes some hits, you know what I mean?
For sure.
So it's like, Yeah, he's never been looked at as some sort of like fake dude. Always, And then Sean Connery was never really any muscular part. And then when he died, I'm sure that rocked Daniel Craig too. That made me upset.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be missed. He had a good last few years though, man. When I went to the Bahamas a few years back, he lived there, and we rode by his house on a tour. And they were like, "That's where he lives. He's lived there since he made one of the James Bond movies he was making." And he went to the Bahamas and shot it, and he was like, "I want to live here." So when he retired after the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which would have been 2001, 2, 3, somewhere in there, beginning of 2000s, he retired. He lived out almost 20 years in the Bahamas with a whole bunch of money. So you know what? I can't think of many better ways to go out.
No, definitely not. Especially being, what was it? They called him the sexiest man in like 1965 or something. He had won that title, and here it is, 2020. He's still out here like, oh, hello.
Oh, my brother.
That guy, he had a heck of a life, man. I tell you.
Well,
I like his other little unorthodox movies too. The Rock and
Entrapment.
What was that? That movie was The Rock, wasn't it?
Yeah, The Rock was with Nicolas Cage and all them, Michael Bay.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Well, speaking of going out in style, I am hoping that John Wick goes out in style, and even though
you don't really have high hope for a fifth, do you? Really, or the fourth for that matter.
I wasn't worried about the other two when they came out. I was like, hell yeah, because I heard all the same people are involved. This time, you're taking away a core component of it. It might still be good. You never know, but I take pause. I will be cautiously optimistic. If I knew that it was the same people involved, I'd be like, fuck yes. Even though I don't think we need a fourth one, I've got confidence that they're going to do something interesting. This one now, though, I'm like, they might. Who knows? Maybe he already had like a story written together and they're going to play off of that. I don't know, but I mean, We'll see on May 27th, 2022. And anybody else out there who's interested in John Wick, for better or worse, there's more John Wick coming.
Have to do some CGI on Keanu. He's gonna be looking old as hell by that point.
Oh man, that guy doesn't age. He's got to deal with the devil or something. But yeah,
he just did. Right, deal with that. That was a Bill and Ted pun, dude.
But yeah, we got it coming May 27th, 2022. So coming off of Keanu Reeves, we're going to look at somebody else who is a bit, I guess she's somewhat known for being outspoken. I wasn't aware of this, but apparently she has a history of being outspoken. And now she's gotten a little bit outspoken about something that, I can get on board with part of what she's saying, honestly. And I was kind of surprised coming from not who's saying it, but what she's involved with. The franchise that she's involved with, she tipped these people. The people involved with this franchise or this universe don't typically do a lot of talking like this because it could be detrimental to their career. But considering recent events with those movies, I guess it's not that surprising. Talking about the absolutely beautiful Scarlett Johansson, and she has apparently spoken her mind recently. And maybe that's because, she's made her last MCU movie, most likely, with the Black Widow. And spoiler alert, she does not make it to the end of Endgame. So we know that character, at least as far as her playing it, unless they bring her back to life, is no longer going to be in the MCU. So maybe that's why she feels a little bit more comfortable saying some of these things. Because as we know about Disney and recent events, the actors just got to kind of be on the high alert about what they say out in the world because they could get canceled. That's a thing nowadays, and that's something people got to worry about. So let's talk about what Scarlett had to say. She had a lengthy interview. I'm going to skip around in a little bit. According to a new interview with the Gentle Woman, not familiar with that, but okay. Scarlett Johansson is well aware of her nature, but she doesn't really want to be considered an overtly political person. That is not her job. Don't worry, everybody. I don't do politics and religion on this channel, so we're not talking about politics, but we're going to talk about people that talk about politics. I'm going to have opinions about things because that's just who I am, she explained. I mean, everyone has a hard time admitting when they're wrong about stuff, and for all of that to come out publicly, it can be embarrassing to have the experience of, wow, I was really off the mark there, or I wasn't looking at the big picture, or I was inconsiderate. I'm also a person. Johansson added, I can be reactive. I can be impatient. That doesn't mix that great with self-awareness. Her most recent controversies came after being attached to play a trans person in a film titled Rub and Tug, based on the true story of Pittsburgh trans person who ran a criminal operation. People were upset that... Now, I'm going to alter this word here because I refuse to use it because it bothers me. I think it's ridiculous. I'm sorry if that offends, but it is what it is. The actual sentence is, people were upset that a cis woman was taking on a trans role. I refuse to use the word cis. I think it's ridiculous. Can't we just call it what it is? People were upset that a straight woman was taking trans role, and eventually the actress made some not-so-smart comments about the situation, causing even more backlash. The film would eventually fall apart, but controversy continued for Johansson. Shortly after the rub and tug incident, Johansson was interviewed and asked about whether or not she'd work with Woody Allen. Man, she's just got controversy left and right. Who has been effectively blacklisted in recent years due to sexual abuse allegations. The actress took the opportunity to defend her filmmaking friend and support working with him in the future, once again causing problems. Ultimately, Johansson believes that she has learned from these mistakes, but doesn't understand why people continuously look towards her for political comments and hot takes, in her words. I don't think actors have obligations to have a public role in society, she explained. Some people want to, but the idea that you are obligated to because you're in the public eye is unfair. You didn't choose to be a politician. You're an actor. Your job is to reflect our experience to ourselves. Your job is to be a mirror for an audience, to be able to have an empathetic experience through art. That's what your job is. Johansson continued, whatever my political views are, all that stuff, I feel most successful when people can sit in a theater or at home and disappear into a story or performance and see pieces of themselves or are able to connect with themselves through this experience of watching this performance or story or interaction between actors or whatever it is. And they're affected by it, and they're thinking about it, and they feel something, They have an emotional reaction to it. Good, bad, uncomfortable, validating, whatever. That's my job. The other stuff is not my job. I couldn't agree with just about everything she says more. I feel like in this day and time, actors, just famous people, they are given this platform and they're put out there. They are no different than you, or than me, than any of you, but they are put on this platform, this soapbox where everyone will listen to them, and they feel the need to, like she said, you're not a fucking politician. They feel as if they are. Now they want to make all these political claims either way, and I'm not talking about one side or the other. I'm just talking about in general. I don't care what your political what your political stances are, what your religious stances are. I don't give a fuck what any of your stances are. You're an actor. I want to see you go act in a movie. I mean, do that. Don't come out here and try and make everyone think that they should vote this way, feel that way, do this thing, don't do this, look a certain way. That is not your job. And for her to be as big an actress as she is, and especially being involved with Disney, though, like I said, I think maybe Black Widow is the last thing she is going to be involved with them with, or at least in that universe. Probably anything after this kind of thing. But you don't hear people say this very often. This does go against the grain a bit. She's not saying, oh, I feel this way or that way about politics. She's doing the right thing. In this crazy political climate that we live in, I think people just need to shut the fuck up about their politics. But I've always thought that. I've always, long before politics was just at the forefront of everyone's fucking mind, I've always thought, they're yours. Keep it to yourself. If you get in a political discussion with someone, that's one thing. But people don't do that. They make everything a political discussion, and it does not need to be. There was a time that people could have differing political opinions, differing religious beliefs, differing opinions in general, and still get along and be friends. There are people that I know now, I don't know a lot of people, but the people I do know personally, They have very differing opinions than I do in many things. We're still friends because we connect on some other level. I don't hate someone because they have a differing opinion than I do. But that more and more people in the world, it seems they do. And people saying things like this, people are already just railing or just like jumping her shit saying, oh, she's this and she's that, labeling her when they're not reading it. They're not hearing what she's saying. She's saying, no, I'm not saying I'm this. I'm not saying I'm that. I'm saying it doesn't matter. What matters is my job is to be an actor, to tell a story, not to tell you how I feel and what I believe about things. And more people should follow suit with that, I think. Now, you probably noticed, some of you, that when I got to this sentence and I made a point to call out the whole cis thing, I think that's ridiculous, okay? That's just me. This is not me telling you how to feel. If someone out there feels as if I like that label of cis and all this and that, whatever, man. But see, this I can comment on, because the whole cis thing, I had to look it up because I didn't know. I mean, I do now, but a while back I kept hearing people saying cis man, cis woman, cis this, cis that, and I was like, what the fuck are they talking about cis? I looked it up and I found out what it is. It's basically a straight person. What we would always say is just a straight guy, straight girl, but it's a straight person who identifies with being whatever sex they are. I don't need, that's me. You're talking about me, okay? I don't want a fucking label. I don't need a fucking label. I'm okay with straight.
I totally agree there. I mean, that's so labelist. It's like there was no reason for that word to even exist. I mean,
Exactly.
Straight itself is a label, but I mean, then again, heterosexual is a label. You know what I mean? They have labels for it all, but I mean, it's just like to remain what you were born as. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
to give more label, we don't need. Everyone says, I don't want to be labeled, but then we make more labels. I'm like, you know what? I can't comment on the other labels because that's not me. Fine. I can comment on this one, and I am not ever going to refer someone as a cis anything. I'm not going to refer to myself as that. I'm a guy. Okay?
Yeah, in regard to what you said earlier about her, just giving her opinion, the sad part about it, it's okay to opine. You know what I mean? You can say whatever you want about anything. It's just that the fact that she's Scarlett Johansson, what she says is way more weighted than what either you or I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
And she has a spotlight on her. So it's like, I was joking the other day, like with my dad, actually. I said, my scariest thought about becoming president would be what they would find out about me through my past that I've said. I mean, think about what's happened. Just stupid stuff had happened to you along the years. You weren't thinking that one day someone might regurgitate this information and get you laughed off the air. You know what I mean? At some point, every influencer has to be, for lack of a better word, canceled at one point or another. Every big time person, once you make it to a certain level,
there's people looking for it.
Everything you say is scrutinized like that. I mean, it's only a matter of time. You better get your money. You know what I mean? Think even Dave Chappelle. Everybody has been in that situation before. Not that you can't have a resurgence, but I just feel like everyone's going to go through that at one time or another where, like, something that they say ends up getting them in some hot water when it actually matters. It only matters when it matters. Like, if she was a private citizen, no one would care.
Nobody give a shit.
She tweeted. Even if she looked the exact same and said that verbatim, no one would care had she not been in The Prestige, all right? I mean, she's a very beautiful woman that everybody knows, but, and then...
if this was Scarlett Johansson that worked at Burger King, nobody would give a shit.
Yeah, hey, I bet if her Burger King manager is like, I always knew she was going to be something. She was indeed at Burger King at some point. That's what people forget, just like you were saying, she was a regular person.
I also wanted to I'm not going to get into it big, but just because, like, some of her previous controversies, I just got to say, because it's on here, once again, this isn't political, but it verges on political stuff. But I do want to say, I remember her, I didn't know the name of the film, but it's here. This controversy she got into, people were giving her shit for playing in a movie, playing a trans person, or I guess you can't, what they're saying now, by everyone, is that an actor, who their job, by the way, is to make believe and pretend, for a living can no longer act like something they're not. But isn't that what they do for a living? Do you think she's like a super spy from Russia? She's not a Russian-born super spy Black Widow, but that's what she's known for, is being Black Widow. That's not her in real life. But since she's not Russian, can she not be that character? Because that's a Russian character. I mean, where's the cutoff? Because people are saying, oh, she can't play a trans person because she's not trans. That's why they call it acting. I mean, if you find a trans person to do it and they're going to be right for the role, great. Look at Orange is the New Black. I don't know if you ever saw that show. They had a woman in it who was trans, who played a trans character. Great, and that's wonderful. Great. But I don't think, I mean, if you find somebody who's right for a role in acting, I don't see the problem with letting them do it.
Kudos to her for taking on that role. You know what I mean? That's furthering her acting. Like, I mean,
she had to drop out of it. She had to drop out of it. They more or less.
Wow.
It was more or less the controversy got so hot. It was within the past year. It got so hot that she finally was like, "All right, I give." This is called, I think her, more or less what she said was, me being involved with this thing is going to cause the project problems, and I don't want the movie to suffer because I'm in it. If people have an issue with me being in this movie, I don't want the movie to suffer from it, so I'm going to step away from the movie so the movie doesn't get blacklisted or whatever because I'm in it. But I'm like, you're an actor. Look, Tom Hanks, Philadelphia.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Tom Hanks is not gay. But he played a gay man, and I'm pretty sure he won an Academy Award for it.
Yes, that was a great movie, actually.
But there's been
Denzel Washington was his lawyer, right?
Yeah, Denzel Washington is not a lawyer, but he played a lawyer in that movie. That's what I'm saying is, where's the cutoff? Where did they stop and say, I mean, is it just sexuality? Does your sexuality have to line up with whatever you're playing? Okay, if that's the case, here's the hot take. Here's the thing that you want to ask. Does that mean, in turn, that someone who's trans can't play someone who's straight? Does that mean that someone who's gay cannot play a straight person? Because there have been gay people who, there's tons of gay people that have played straight people, and I have no problem with it. I don't give a shit. I just want the right actor in there. But there's been tons of gay men and women who have played straight roles. No one had anything to say. I mean, really, nobody had anything to say about this up until this point. I just feel like people are looking for something.
What it is that it didn't used to be as politicized as it is now.
Sure.
No one cared, so to speak. It was just your business. That was your business if you were that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, are we gonna have this as an issue for the election? It wasn't like that back then.
Yeah, nobody cared.
You know, and it's like, don't ask, don't tell is now suddenly an issue. Gay marriage is an issue now. You know, it's not even like, it just should have been like, why were those things ever even legislated to begin with? Let people have that.
Yeah, let them do what they want. I don't give a shit what people do.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Why does there have to be laws in place for that?
My sister's married to another woman. I love both of them. I don't give a damn. I mean,
finding love in itself is one thing, man. Let alone, you know what I mean? There's, man.
I just don't. I mean, and I know some people. I will say what some people will say. Excuse me. They'll say about the whole, someone playing a different character who they don't align with that character's sexuality in real life. They'll say, well, because there was another movie that had a similar thing. I think it was somebody with, I don't remember what it was, but they said, well, that person, because they're, like with her, she's a straight woman, so she doesn't understand the mindset of a trans woman.
Right.
Or trans man, whatever.
Argument, but
that's why it's called acting. They study their craft. They go and actors don't just show up to the movie set and say, okay, where's the script? Let me see it. Let me read this, and we're going to get to shooting. No, they take weeks, months, sometimes even years, depending on how long the production is, to get to know this character. They research it. They go hang out. Fucking Daniel Day-Lewis went and became a fucking shoe cobbler so he could play in that one movie. I mean, he learned the fucking craft of, like, cobblering shoes. I mean, he became...
Daniel Day-Lewis.
He has a cobbler business somewhere. I don't know. because he's he retires after every movie, and like he is a shoe cobbler. That's what actors do. Real actors research their roles. They give it their all, just like someone who's writing a paper, someone who's doing anything. You research it, you figure it out, and you figure out how to take on that role, and that's what I imagine she would do.
Jared Leto did that with Joker from Suicide Squad. Like, he started just scaring the crap out of everything. He really was the Joker.
Yeah, he took that shit real far.
If you called him outside of work, he was the Joker, and that people started like flipping out on him.
Yeah, like method
and he was
acting.
like sending gifts, Joker-like gifts to the other actors.
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
dead rats and used condoms and shit. But but like I just don't get it. I don't understand why. I mean, now it'd be different if they had they said it was Scarlett Johansson and I don't know off the top of my head a trans actor's name, but this person, and both of them were great. I could be like, okay, I can see where you got a leg to stand on. You got some. This person might be able to bring a little extra something to that role. But no, they're saying you just can't because she doesn't understand the mindset. She can't do that. And then some people will say, well, it's because there's not enough opportunity for whatever people it is that they're talking about for whatever role. I mean, I get that, but does that mean, are you going to just to create opportunity here, you're going to wall off everything else? So you're going to end up with someone, because are you going to get the right person for that role? How many, I'm not saying there aren't trans actors out there. There's probably plenty of them, but are they as readily available and known to these people making this movie as Scarlett Johansson or somebody else? I mean, I've always looked at acting and movies and stuff like that, the people they're going to put in them, just the right person. Are you the right person for the role? I don't care if you're whatever.
The thing of it is that if you're going to bring that up about Scarlett Johansson, then you have to bring that up about everybody. It's just like you said, like, is Denzel really a lawyer? Okay, does Tom Hanks have HIV or in Philadelphia? You know what I mean? Just different things. Like, I mean, the movie itself is it based on a true story?
It says it's based on a true. It says where's that being attached to play? Trans person in a film titled Rub and Tug, based on the true story of a Pittsburgh trans person who ran a criminal operation. I mean, okay. What's the one with Denzel Washington? American Gangster? That was a true story, based on a true story?
No, I mean, I'm sure that person, whoever that is, she's not thinking, okay, like, if I were to get someone to play me as an actor, I don't know who that would be, but I wouldn't be like, oh, I want to make sure that he's not a homosexual person, because I am not that. If he's a great actor, gladly play me as a straight man. You are a great actor. I would confide in you playing me in a role. Go ahead.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I trust you as an actor.
That's what it's called, acting. You're not playing yourself.
Yeah, it's like, okay, all right. In this regard, I mean, it's like some people, like, say you have like a black guy working at like an Asian restaurant or something like that. Some people get mad about that. I know people that get mad about that sort of thing. They don't think the food is authentic because I work there. All right. They're like, why do you work here? I want my stuff from here. And it's like, they don't think that the food is actually authentic. Not to say that I can't follow their recipe. They just want them to do it.
Yeah.
I understand, but does that make it any less? Follow the recipe to the T. Are you going to get mad that they didn't make it?
Oddly enough, at a lot of those Japanese, like, hibachi grills and stuff, because that's one of the main places I have heard stuff like that, where if you see someone who's not...
They have them in the kitchen, I noticed. I mean, sometimes.
A lot of those cooks, and this isn't just like where I live, in a lot of places, because I used to be in that world, a lot of those cooks that do that stuff, that cook at the table, they're Filipino. They're not Japanese. But people have no problem because they look at them and they're like, oh, they're Asian.
Islander is what they used to call those people. But somehow they got mixed in with Asians. They're actually called Pacific Islanders.
Yeah.
Remember that? Seeing that?
Yeah, they are.
That got phased out somehow.
I don't know. They come up with another label. Another label.
People just aren't in. I mean, when you really think about it in history in itself, I mean, there's nobody to validate anything. 100 years, the last 100 years, who's left to explain how that really went?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot with this story. Like, I mean, I like what she's saying. How she's saying, ultimately, she said in a really nice way, famous people out there, shut the fuck up. Who are you? Because they're nobody. They're like the thing. I do think that actors and just famous people, they have a responsibility, because the fact that while they may be just like you and me, at the end of the day, they have a platform like no other. They are, in a lot of people's eyes, put above everyone else. They are more, what their words hold more weight. And I do think that they should be responsible about that. I mean, we talk about nowadays people need to be responsible about the things that they say and responsible about how they present themselves. I think that goes both ways, like in every direction. I don't think people that are like famous and actors and all that should be out here like advocating or like just preaching their beliefs to people in the personal life. That's not what you're an actor. I want to see the roles you play. I don't give a shit what you believe. Unfortunately, a lot of people do listen to it, and I think that's abused a lot.
I agree. That's why I'm really a proponent on being able to speak intelligently about it. I'll sit quiet in a meeting or anything else unless I have something to say. You know what I mean? I'm not really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go out there and try to be like, oh, okay, I have 500,000 subscribers now, so let me just get on here and just start talking about something controversial because I have an audience. Like, no, that doesn't mean that my opinion in that regard is validated. You know, I don't have the expertise. You know what I mean? Me personally, I mean, I agree with you, Jacob, personally. I mean, me personally, I just, I watch a lot of political things and such, but I just feel like, I wouldn't speak on behalf of everyone else. I would have said the same thing she said as far as the actresses and actors and famous people.
Because at the end of the day, whatever she believes, her personally, and I don't mean just politics, religion, what her personal view and beliefs on just everything, that's her. So what?
Right.
That's her. That needs to stay her. It doesn't need to be everybody else's. And this whole thing that we were talking about with the, certain people playing other certain roles, I don't get that, because I don't know. It's acting. That's what blows my mind. I was like, do you not listen to the word, what it means? Acting. You were pretending. No one, I mean, the fuck? I don't know. I mean, I'm all for people. If you can find someone who lives that life, who can do the job and they can do it right and they can do what you want. Because let's be real, and I don't mean this offensively, but just because someone is, like for this particular movie, whoever the director is, I'm not sure if it said, but if you, the guy who's making this movie, just because someone is trans does not mean that they are a good actor for a trans role. I mean, that's like saying,
yes, definitely.
That's like saying that I would be perfect for any straight male role. No, I'm not an actor. So just because I'm straight doesn't mean I could play any straight role. No, you have to be an actor, and an actor doesn't just come up off the street. Like, I mean, there's people that have natural talent, but it is a craft. These people learn it. They hone that skill, and
I've been in a play before. I'll tell you right now, it is not easy. Like, I can memorize some lines. Sure. One thing I noticed is that, like, I'm surprised I'm not doing it now, actually, but I sweat a lot. I'm like a nervous person or something. I don't know. When I do a lot of public speaking personally, not public speaking, but like I interview people for my job in social work, like strangers, and I have to ask them like questions. And usually I'm just surprised I'm even able to do that, because I can read people well. I'll go in here, I'll be like, oh, this person doesn't want to talk to me or even hear what I'm talking about at all.
Sure.
So I'm like, that'll come off it as a certain way. And I just, I mean, just being an actor, you just have to realize, or actress, you have to realize, like, wow, like, you really have to be like, really, to love, you have to love yourself to even live stream.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Even get on here. It takes a lot out of you. There's people that are really like self-conscious of themselves, or just anything. You can have a mole on your cheek, a birthmark, just anything will stop you from achieving your greatest. You know what I mean?
Oh, I have no shame.
Because of the way society works.
Well,
just dumb.
Well, barring all that, like I said, I knew that was going to be kind of like, that's kind of a hot topic, but I actually put this story in late. I had a different story in here about I think it was Lord of the Rings, by the way, is being the 3 Lord of the Rings movies are being re-released in China in 4K, new visuals, and 3D. Just FYI for anybody, because that was the story I was going to do here. But I saw this one and I was like, I got to talk about that. This Lord of the Rings thing is just going to be kind of like, hey, it's coming. Lord of the Rings is coming to China. None of us can see it, but or I mean, most of the people in my stream can't see it. But, all right, but yeah, I hope her well. I like what she's selling. It sounds like she knows she's learned how to navigate the world that she inhabits, while at the same time not just selling out and just going along with the norm. She's still saying what she wants to say. She's just being a little bit more tactful about it, and but I feel like she's getting her point out there. Her point is pretty much, keep your thoughts to yourself and do your job. So I'm sure somebody will find a problem with that though. But Scarlett Johansson, you got a little bit more respect for me there, Scarlo. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in Black Widow a little more now. So for the last story of the night, this will be a quick one, and this was a little near and dear to me. Not really near and dear, but this isn't like the biggest story in the world, but we're going to end it with at least some good news, and this actually does come off of the last one we were talking about, as they put it, cis male, me, straight male. I'm a straight guy. I am very straight. I've never been attracted to men, but if I were to ever go gay, we're going to talk about my man crush real quick, the absolutely beautiful Henry Cavill. I'm a very straight man, but if I ever was to go that way, The Witcher would be my man. But we're going to, in all seriousness, we're going to talk about The Witcher Season 2 is expanding its cast. According to The Hollywood Reporter on Tuesday, The Hollywood Reporter stated that 7 newcomers are joining the cast of The Witcher alongside Henry Cavill. I'm going to butcher these names. Everybody get ready. Adjoa Endo, Cassie Clare, Liz Carr, Simon Callow, Graham McTavish, Kevin Doyle, and Chris Fulton are all set to appear in Witcher Season 2, which still does not have a release date, but they are shooting it. Per the publication, Endoa, I think, will portray Niniki, a priestess of Melitile. I read these books, I can't remember. And the head of the Temple of Melitile. Claire will play Philippa Eilhart, an advisor to Redania's King Vizimir II, the leader of the Lodge of Sorceresses. Carr will play Finn. This is the one that's interesting here, I thought. Well, for me, I've read the books. Carr will play Finn, a partner at a law firm and detective agency, while Callow will portray Cardinger, I think that's Cardinger, Finn's partner. McTavish will portray that word, a master spy and head of special forces for the Kingdom of Redania. Doyle has been cast as Balian, a new character, and Fulton will play Renice, a mage who was instructed to find Ciri after the slaughter of Sintra. Netflix says that they still do not have a release date, but it is coming soon. This is... I don't know a lot of people that have read the Witcher books. People are more familiar with the Witcher video games. That actually, the video games are based on the books, and this show is actually based on the books, not the video games. There are, of course, similarities. I've read the books, and the books get pretty out there. A lot of people complained about the first season of The Witcher being very disjointed. It being, I don't know if did you happen to see the Witcher, Antonio, the show on Netflix?
Not the show. I did have the game though, so I may know. I didn't even know it was. I mean, a book. To be honest with you, I just bought the game based on what I was reading.
Sure.
And it had really, really, really great reviews as just a standalone game. So
yeah,
I do have that.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a series of books by a Polish writer. I don't have his name here. I probably butchered that too, but it's a series of books. I read them all. It's been some years back now. Actually, before I played any of the games, I haven't played the games nearly as extensively as some other games. They're real long games.
I like RPGs mostly, so I just thought that would be a good one to own, you know.
Yeah, and I have there's 3 of them. I have all 3 of them, and I think I've played part 3 a bit. But either way, that's a game I would like to get into. But the show, I loved the show because the show is very, for the most part, it is a lot more faithful to the book, the first book, and part of the second, than I ever thought it would be. And people said, oh, it's really disjointed, the show was. And it was, but that's because the first book is really disjointed, because the first book is actually a collection of short stories about this character that they're related because it's the same character, but it's not a single narrative throughout. The first book is just a collection of short stories, kind of like The Gunslinger was for Stephen King back in the day. And after the first book, the second book starts the actual overarching narrative about The Witcher and all these things that happen. Now, they did work in a few things from the second book and that narrative into the first season, all of which were from the second book, to give it a little bit of a narrative arc. But that's why it seems so disjointed, and people were really confused as to why. It's hard to keep track of like when it is, because it does. It bounces around in time, because the book did too. There are times in the book you'd be like a chapter into one part of it, and you'd be like, when am I? And you'd find out, oh, I'm before all that, or I'm after that. And that's so in that respect, I can say that the show was very faithful to the book, because it did
kept you and you knew where you were. It wasn't choppy.
Yeah, and so that is actually something I liked about the book. You'd be reading it, and the show as well. You wouldn't know exactly when this. You knew the characters, and you were on board with what was going on in this particular story, but it would be like a little ways into the story, and something would happen. You'd be like, oh, it's before that. It's before he knows about this or has met this person or that's happened or whatever. And that's how you would kind of place these stories in the timeline. You'd be like, okay, this happened. But it wasn't until the second book that they all kind of came together. Now, the second book in the series, like I said, that's when the series takes off as a single narrative. And I'm thinking from the synopsis and everything that sounds like what's going to happen with the season 2. I was really scared that with season 1 it was going to be so kind of disjointed to a degree that it wouldn't get a season 2, but it apparently is, because people did still dig it. And I'm happy to see this, because I think that if season 2 is as faithful to its book counterpart as the first one was, I think people are going to love this, because they're going to find it's going to be much more narratively easier to digest than the first one. Because what I found with the series is the first book was really neat, but like I said, it was just a bunch of short stories. But when you get to the second, third, four or five books, I can't remember how many books, there's quite a few books. When you get to those books call back to that stuff. It's like the first book is giving you a history lesson of this world and these characters, so that when the second one starts, when the real story starts, you already know these characters, so it doesn't have to explain who these people are. I mean, you get a few new ones, but the main players, all that, you have like this robust history of them, and you don't get that with a lot of books. A lot of books, you're having to learn about the world, you're having to learn about the characters, you're having to learn about the overarching story that's going on right then. This one, you have a whole book's worth of knowledge of these characters, and now you're going on a story, and you already know these characters. That's why I really enjoyed those books. But the second book in the series was really badass. So it sounds like, because a lot of these characters they mention are people that show up in those books, so I'm thinking they're going to stay, pretty relatively in line with that book again, and that makes me happy. I know I'm probably a little bit more of a Witcher nerd than most people.
No, hey, that's good that you care that much about it, man. But, about anything, you know what I mean? Like, I remember, I really tried to get into Warhammer. You ever played that? Like that whole...
I haven't, but I'm aware of it. I know what it is.
Yes, I just, I had went to a store one day, a mall actually, and I saw that was in there, and I just was so like jealous of how passionate people were about that.
Oh yeah,
I just like even Magic cards or Witcher. I do like RPG games, Final Fantasy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it's nice to even care about that stuff, man. So don't think you're a nerd, dude.
Oh, no, I'm okay with being a nerd.
Yeah.
I have no problem being a nerd about it. Yeah, the games are what I played.
She's going to bed on this.
Uh-oh. Good night, Short. We'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully.
Night. Oh yeah.
But the games, or the third game, is really the only one I put any amount of time into, and not a ton. It was pretty neat. I really liked it. But I think the third game actually takes place after the books or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, the books are definitely worth it. Anybody who's interested in The Witcher or watched that first season, I strongly recommend checking out the first season. It's only like 6, 7, 8 episodes. It's not a lot. But just go into it knowing that it is, like, each episode, it does tie them together a bit more than the book did, because it has the beginnings of that narrative. But go into it knowing that, you know what, each episode's going to be a little different. It might be a different time. And I'm just getting to know these characters, and I think people have a lot better time. I think people were going in expecting this more overarching narrative from episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and instead they got like a different story each time and different points of time, and they were kind of confused by that. But I think when season 2 comes along, if it follows the structure of the book, people are going to be really blown away, because they're going to go on this really great story with characters they already know and care about. And Henry Cavill's awesome as The Witcher. I couldn't imagine anybody else in that part now. No matter, I mean, even though, you know, I got a thing for Henry Cavill, but I couldn't. He is great in it. He's an awesome.
Like, I mean, he's an awesome.
Yep. Geralt is an awesome character, and Henry Cavill does it really. He petitioned to be that character because he's a big gamer. That's how he knows it, is from the games. But yeah, anybody who's a Witcher fan out there, get ready, because we are getting a season 2. We've known that, but you know, the pandemic happened and kind of slowed things down. They are already filming, or have already filmed a good bit of it. I don't think it's finished filming, but they are currently filming The Witcher season 2. So I imagine we'll be getting it hopefully in 2021. I hope we don't have to wait too long. I know it's a effects heavy show and got a whole lot of extravagant sets and everything, so it's probably a big production, but hopefully we get it in 2021, because I'm really ready for some more Witcher Netflix action, because that show was pretty awesome. So that's all the news that I got for this week. We still got a couple of quick things to look at. First and foremost, this week, we got a couple of things releasing, not a whole lot, because everything's kind of moving out of the way for the king himself, Godzilla vs. Kong, which is coming out Thursday, March 31st, i.e. tomorrow, or actually it is 1:21 my time right now. It may actually be available now, but that's coming out tomorrow on the March 31st. Definitely check that out. Looks like it could be a good time. This Friday, April 2nd, we have The Unholy, which is a trailer we looked at here on the show a few weeks ago. Looked kind of generic, but who knows? Jeffrey Dean Morgan might be a good time. Shiva Baby, not familiar with that one. Assault on VA 33. I don't know if that's like a mix between Assault on Precinct 13 and maybe that VA movie that came out a couple of years ago. Every Breath You Take. Isn't that a Biggie song? I'm not sure. Is that the Johnny Depp movie where it's about Biggie and Tupac? I don't know. And The Girl Who Believes in Miracles. Don't know anything about that one either. But those are all coming out on Friday. It sounds like everything was getting out of the way of Godzilla vs. Kong. Nobody wants to be in its wake. But that's the new releases for this week. Yeah. Alrighty. I had a few things I was going to, questions. And yeah, you kind of did touch on this, but you didn't, flat out say it. So I'm curious to know, and I want to, because we've gone over we've said other things. I am curious. The one question I want to know, because I know that your channel is really all about, well, not all about, that's making light of it. Your channel has a lot of different variety, but you do definitely have a niche now. Erotic thrillers is definitely your thing. That's taken off for you, and it's doing very well for you. And I know that you like those movies from talking to you, but you have other passions, other movies you like as well, such as horror you mentioned. I'm curious, erotic thriller or no, whichever it is. What's a video? What's one video? One video or topic, even if it's not a movie, just a video or topic that you really want to do, but you never will. And why?
But I never will.
But you never will. What's one that you're just like, I really want, like for me, give you context, for me, it'd be Lord of the Rings. I really love Lord of the Rings, and I would love to do a video, but I never will, because I feel like can I do that, Justin? Can I get across how much I care about this property? How much I named one of my children after a character from Lord of the Rings. I really like Lord of the Rings.
I like Lord of the Rings too myself. Personally, for me too, there's a lot of like in particular a movie that I know I would like to do is the movie My Girl, actually, with Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, yeah.
That movie is something that I actually wanted to do a long time ago, but when I realized that like they were, I guess, minors, for lack of a better word, that I didn't think it would be in good taste for me to review the movie because it would probably in turn get me acclaim. But I really like that movie. So of course that would be something that I would like to review eventually. But as far as I would really like to do series, like TV series, like that I like, we were mentioning Saved by the Bell earlier, but not necessarily that, but like literally break down, like, I guess something like that would be a very, very long project to undertake, especially if something had a lot of seasons, but like a show that I liked from back in the day, like Wonder Years or
oh yeah, that's a good one.
like I mean, I feel like that was like very formative for me and who I became as a person, like watching Wonder Years as a kid,
Yeah, who was your Winnie?
Winnie was the best. Shoot, I probably wouldn't even have had a girlfriend or anything so early in life if not for that theme being within that show. Every episode was like, oh, Winnie, oh, this girl, oh, that person, oh, the dance. That was living that life essentially.
Oh, for sure. I remember the one where he had the zit.
Oh, yeah. I have every episode on DVD. That's why I said I would gladly like to review those if I ever got the chance, for sure.
Awesome. I mean, I know earlier you mentioned Basic Instinct, but you kind of sounded like, hey, I want to do it, but I'm not sure if I'll ever will.
Yeah, that's like my magnum opus, or what, you know what I mean? Like the cherry on the top. Like I want to do a really good job with that movie. So
you think you'll ever do it?
I probably won't. Yeah, I think I'll do it eventually. I don't think I probably won't live up to my own expectations of it. I doubt of the review itself, but I feel like, it'll be something that like, because that's like pretty much, I mean, there's other movies that are older than that I could, like, I mean, you got Dangerous Liaisons, just different movies like from, Dress to Kill, all kinds of different movies, like the genre of movie that I do that I could really think of. But like, I'm just saying in terms of my generation, that's where I became a fan of the genre, was through like Michael Douglas, Sharon Stone, Fatal Attraction, things like that.
The classics.
Yeah. That's why Michael Douglas is one of my favorite actors. It's probably because of Wall Street. And I kind of saw all those three movies like right at the same time: Wall Street, Basic Instinct, and Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
And Wall Street isn't even that type of movie, but that's one of my favorite movies.
Another one he's in I really like is The Game. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I really like that as well. The Game.
It's not one of those kind of movies either, but I really like The Game. I was surprised by how much I like that movie.
That was a good movie. I really enjoyed that one myself. Yeah, it was like manipulative, like Shutter Island or something. Like he didn't know what he was really in. Like a game. Well,
if you do Basic Instinct on your video, are you gonna include the gratuitous beaver shot?
Hey, if you sponsor me, Jacob, I might put that shot in there. All right. This video is sponsored by Jacob Andrews Reviews.
Should do it and put one like somebody put my face. There you go. Do it, and when she opens her legs, just have my face with like a little splat. That's what you do that and you'll make my day.
Yeah, honestly, I could honestly see something like that, like a little emoji head right there.
I reside in Sharon Stone's crotch.
You're so...
Well,
man, you get me in trouble, man.
That's what I'm here for. So what do you have any like plan, like beyond doing what you've been doing, of course? Do you have any other plans or any other directions or anything that's with your channel that you're going to be doing that's changing things up, or what if you don't mind telling us?
Yeah, now that I'm actually on camera now, I would like to pursue this a bit further and elaborate on, this. Possibly add myself to an outro or an intro or, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
just come in every now and again while I'm explaining, different scenes from the movies and stuff like that. Just pop in and give them, a piece of personalization, so to speak,
Sure.
like this, instead of just being a voiceover with no
Mhm.
identity. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that'll be my next move, definitely. I feel like,
Cool.
and
I
I'm
mean,
looking forward to that.
you did great. I know you were having some anxiety about like putting your face out there for the first time and like being on camera, and I get it. Believe me, I get it. But I mean, it's been great tonight, man. No problems.
Hey, thanks. It has for me as well, actually. I mean, it's not even so much that, I mean, I know times will be different, and, all it takes is 2 or 3 bad apples, you know what I mean, to ruin the whole thing. But I don't really, I don't have any anxiety about getting on camera, really. It's just like, I mean, I just really kind of felt like it would just be like, when you get on camera, it sort of like adds you to your videos instead of you actually talking about the movie itself. Like right now, my reviews don't really have anything to do with me personally. People aren't getting me. I'm talking about the movie.
Sure.
If you like the movie, you'll come and see that. There's no reason not to watch my review because I'm not really in it. You know what I mean? It's just
Hmm.
me giving a synopsis of the movie. When I add myself, then there's going to be a point where like, oh, do I really like Antonio? You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I get you. I get you.
Me just liking Unfaithful or Sliver. It's like, do I like this guy now because he's on camera?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like instead of me just,
Because yours are a bit more. I mean, you're reviewing it for sure, but I kind of view your videos, and I like these kind of videos. I like them a lot. I don't do them, but I like them. Yours are more almost like essays. They're like a more long form essays, and I like it.
oh,
I watch and listen to a lot of those kind of videos on YouTube. I like to have a big, long, interesting video about a movie or something that really dives deep into it that I can sit down like at work or when I'm editing or and I watch them too. But just I can like listen to
yeah,
soak that
yeah,
information
listen
up.
to something you can listen to. Oh man, thank you, Jacob. I really appreciate that, bro. Honestly, you really don't understand. That means a lot, man. For
Oh,
real.
absolutely. I've watched a ton of your videos. I don't. I'm the worst commenter ever.
Yeah, I don't comment. I don't comment either. I'm like that. I tell people that all the time. Like, I mean, I don't really comment, but I'll bring up something that, like, I was in your Phantasmagoria. I mean, that was alive, but I've seen your videos too.
Yeah.
So don't think I'm not there, man, because you're in my subs. So it's like if I could be in bed on YouTube and just randomly hear your voice, like, oh, they showed me one of Jacob's videos. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's Jacob. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
watch your stuff too, dude.
Well, thanks. I appreciate
Don't
that.
even think that I'm not around.
Oh, absolutely. I see. You and Short and Sweet are definitely. And we've got some other ones coming in now. We got like Caden and Hell Knight and Greg
Yeah.
and all them. But you guys are the OGs. You guys have probably been. But
Oh,
I think
man.
you came in a little bit earlier. But then Short was right after you, man. And you guys have
And
been there
now
since
here
the
I
beginning.
am, right
Yeah.
here in the video, in the audience, from the audience to the video. What do
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know.
Dude.
It might be a graduation. It might not be. I don't know.
I've graduated. I've graduated. Now I'm always gonna be in the comments, man. No, excuse me. Don't
Awesome.
worry.
Awesome. Well, I mean,
That's for sure.
what else? What other? I mean, other stuff you got. If you want to tell the viewers about like your anything about your channel, other things you're doing, what kind of plugs, things like that you got. What you got coming up soon? Anything at all? This is your opportunity to let the world
Thanks,
or my
Jacob. I
little
really,
slice
I
of
mean,
the world
just,
know.
please like and support my channel. I'm really, really, really interested in making YouTube something that, can become like a serious thing in the future, whether it be, next week, today, tomorrow, whenever. I'm just ready for, just more of that, I guess. And I do work 40 hours a week, so I work nights. And it's, just really hard to get up early. Like, I mean, here I am, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning now. I'm not going to wake up until noon, and then I'll go to work. So that really doesn't leave much time for me to do all these side gigs that I have. And that's why, I've gotten sort of like inconsistent. When I first started my channel, I was at home in quarantine. And, in fact, I didn't even work this shift. And I started working from. I started getting out. I used to get out at 7:30 at night, and I would immediately start editing a video. But now I get out at 10, and it's just like, it's just made things different. Now I'm just like up at all hours of the night and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to getting more consistent, just taking it more serious. And I'm lucky to have the luck that I've had. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I've done anything per se. If that makes sense. I don't know why. I appreciate all of my fans, but I really don't know. I wasn't expecting that or anything like that. And, it's like, I just want to extrapolate on that, like keep it going,
Sure.
So.
You've done a lot,
yeah.
By the way. In less than a year, you've got by the time you hit a year, you'll probably be over 6,000 subscribers, man. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. I'm almost at 2. So,
oh man, hey,
you hit that straight. But we were talking about it the other day. You mentioned it, and you just at some point you hit that thing. You hit that algorithm, and I mean, I'm not that really that trivializes it. I mean, that took work. That took something. And you've told me the stuff you do behind the scenes to really get that stuff, and you hit it right, and it went, and your videos took off, and that's awesome.
Oh man, thank you. I couldn't be more appreciative, and honestly, it's been a lot of trial and error, really, just having different issues with or just times and different things like that. Like a lot of people probably don't even know like a video has to be 8 minutes to even get an ad placed. I was making 6-minute videos, 5-minute videos. I didn't know what I was doing, so it just took work and research, really, and mostly people like you inspired me to keep going at it. I was like, hey, and then there's someone else too that I watch sort of like you that's like, she's just been grinding for so long, and she just doesn't really, I feel like you want to talk about video essays, like you ever watched her? Her name's Deep Focus Lens. That's the name of her channel. She's a movie reviewer, and she just
no, I'll have to look
goes above and beyond. She doesn't, I mean, she shows her face and stuff. She doesn't even show clips, but she has really good analyses of movies, and I just think that that's like saying a lot, that I don't know, she just has been doing it for 10 years and has like literally 10 years. Like I see videos from 10 years ago of her. Damn. You know what I mean? So it's like funny to me that someone's been doing it for that long, and she only has like 20,000 subs, and I just feel like, it's stuff like that that'll have you like, you know what I mean? You feel like less of yourself or something. Like you did so much work just to only be in. Then a guy like me will come around. You know what I mean? Like people I've been watching for years that, like, I just want them to grow so big, and some guy will come and do a stupid dance, and now he has more subscribers than they do. Just stuff like that. Like,
sure, but well, yeah, you guys absolutely check out Antonio's channel over at Antonio Sanders Movie Reviews on YouTube. If they just search
just under my name, Antonio Sanders.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just look up Antonio Sanders. You'll see it.
You'll see my channel itself, and you'll see the guy in the suit that looks like he's in finance or something. It's actually a movie review channel, believe it or not.
But yeah, look up Antonio's channel and check him out. He's got some really great essay/reviews over there. Some really good stuff on some movies that, especially not old stuff, but some older stuff that could probably broaden some horizons for some people. Definitely. I mean, I've seen a lot of those movies myself, but I know a lot of people, we were talking about the other day, never even seen those movies. So, check out some really good movies, get some good recommendations over at Antonio's channel. And I appreciate you coming here today, man. It was good seeing you.
Thanks,
it's
man.
good.
You too, man.
I know we went a little long here, but I appreciate you hanging out. I know you stay up late. You're a night owl like me. I get it, but still, I hate to keep somebody here this long. But yeah, that was the news for this week.
I'd have been in the show anyway, so I mean, what difference is it if I'm on camera or sitting in the chair off camera? I would have been here. So
I hear you. All right, guys. So that will do it for the JARcast episode 11. I want to say thanks to Antonio for coming by and hanging out with me for a little while here. Kept him a bit longer than I expected. As far as my channel goes, coming up soon, I have, as I've been saying the past couple of weeks, I am going to be putting a cap on my video game movie review series by having some ranking videos and things like that. I'm working on that stuff. That is coming soon. I also have a few other movies that have been sent to me. One called Embryo, Dawn of the Beast, The Voices, and I also have Nobody review and Godzilla vs. Kong. That will all be coming this week and the beginning of next week. I will also be starting my next series, weekly series, here soon. I've compiled the list, and it is a hell of a list. I am doing a comic book movie review series. Since I've now finished, I've rated all of the video game movies ever made. Now I'm going to do not all, but a lot of the comic book movies ever made. There's a lot of them. I'm doing all the majorly produced ones and any sequels to those or any branch-offs and things like that, and a couple of other little ones. There's a lot more than you think, and they're not all superhero movies, but those are coming. I think at this point my list is somewhere in the neighborhood of 280 movies. So I'm going to be doing this series for quite a while, so check that out. All that's coming to the to the channel soon. And beyond that, yeah, check out the podcast. If you're listening, keep on listening and keep on downloading. If you are watching the audio version or if you're watching the video version and you prefer the audio version, you can get it on all major platforms, all podcast platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, Google, just really all of them. If it doesn't show up for you on one of them, just look up Jacob Anders Reviews or JARcast. It should show up. If for some reason it does not, shoot me a message and I'll see about what's going on there. Or if it's not on one that you like that I don't have it on, I can get it on there. I have some other guests lined up, a couple of them I'm talking to. Possibly next week we'll have one. If not, ideally the week after that we will. And hopefully Antonio will come back and visit again and hang out
anytime.
All right, well, I'm holding him to it, but that's about all I got this week, guys. Really appreciate it. Check out Antonio's channel if you haven't subscribed. Subscribe to his, subscribe to mine, like the video, like all the other videos. Check out my videos, check out his videos, check out all the videos and all the podcasts. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you all next week.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Peace.